What's up, ladies and gents? This is Basement Side. I'm Deeg. I'm here with Wrel, the lead game designer of Planet Side 2. How's it going, Wrel?
Not too bad. How you doing?
Doing fine. Uh, so, the lead game designer role on Planet Side 2, how long have you been in that spot?
You just jumping right in it, huh?
Oh, that's how I do.
Let's see. How long has it been? More than a year, certainly.
Okay.
Yeah, probably
And tell
year
us
and
a
a
little
half,
bit
maybe two.
about what that means. What does the lead game designer do?
So the I guess it probably depends team to team, but what I do, um, as lead game designer, it's holding the vision of the game. It is actually doing the work and like creating the goals and objectives that we're trying to hit with certain updates and that sort of thing. And then, like any designer on the team, all of us, we're creating the actual designs to implement whatever change and features and that sort of thing we want to see in the game. I do also like help with. I guess it's not art direction per se, but because Alan Lapidus is the lead artist. Um, but just it's kind of like giving my 2 cents on how like what my vision looks like, and then the artist can take and say like, okay, just like this, and we just work closely together, and kind of do that with all the departments, or at least all the heads of the departments. So
Gotcha. Shout out to Alan. He's been sharing a lot of great stuff on Twitter recently about some upcoming content for PlanetSide.
yeah, Alan, he gets excited about stuff, and it's really cool to see him excited about the stuff that he's working on. I think that's, I don't want to say like a rare thing in the games industry, but sometimes you don't necessarily get to work on the stuff that you want to work on.
Oh yeah,
But for him, like yeah, like he gets super excited, and I like to see it.
that's
And he's
cool.
got a bunch of stuff that you're going to see at some point.
That's exciting. We'll just have to wait and see what's coming up.
Yeah.
Um, so how important is that excitement? Because when I see Alan get excited, I think it kind of gives the community permission to get excited too.
Oh yeah, yeah, totally. Like that's so when we can be happy with something, to the point where we can share it. Like we've done a lot of stuff that we don't want to share, and we've kind of been doing these teasers over time. Uh, we kind of feed off of the hype of the community too. Um, and a lot of times, I think my biggest fear, I guess, is just letting the community down. It's like trying to I gotta try to keep the hype in check sometimes because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of good ideas out.
very it's very fucking dangerous when this community is hyped about something the same as the developers are. Usually that coincides with shit that is a failure.
There. And it's like it's not necessarily for this update. So yeah,
Right.
no, but we really enjoy it.
Do you ever have to like stop yourself like in the middle of the night from being like, I just finished this great design document. I know it's gonna go through. I really want to just hop on Reddit and just drop a teaser on an alt account. Do you ever have that kind of moment?
I Yes, yeah,
Uh,
and actually not even just like the like it's gonna go through thing. I think it's more about like
Rel doesn't go on the Reddit, man. He's scared.
I like this idea, but do other people like this idea?
I
And then
see.
there's something different about it coming from me opposed to coming from a community member,
Hmm.
because I've seen like a lot of stuff rehashed over the years, and depending on whose mouth it comes out of, and just like what kick the community's on at the time, is kind of they go through cycles. It like that'll change how it's received. So
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes I
You go through cycles because there's constantly shit that's broken and doesn't work. So like we go to one thing and we bitch about that for a while and explain why it sucks, and then there's no action on it or anything, and there's no recognition that it's actually a fucking problem. And then out of apathy, we just give up and we just move to something new. And then we come back around. Like it's not just because that's the way it is. It's because of how you fucking don't deal with anything or don't fix anything, man.
I think about doing that just for fun. But in general, I think it'd be super fun to design stuff like on stream. But then there's always the chance that you don't like if we're just like doing a design document or something like that, it could be really interesting and engaging for people, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it can become kind of ammunition down the road
Right.
if there are other disappointments, right?
Yeah. No, and that's the internet never forgets.
Yeah. And I think if anyone out there knows about that, it's you. Rel, one of the main reasons I really wanted to talk to you is because, as being a lead game designer by itself, I think is insanely interesting, just all by itself. But what a lot of people who are newer to PlanetSide, which is, by the way, we haven't mentioned, PlanetSide is an MMO FPS. If you haven't heard of it, it's free on Steam and PS4. Go check it out. Um, but you are not just a lead game designer, you're a lead game designer who started your PlanetSide career as a YouTube video creator who then got
Right.
brought on by the company developing the game and worked your way into this role, which I think is hope I'm not being hyperbolic when I say an insanely interesting story.
Yeah. I would agree from that. I mean, from player to developer is kind of like the dream, that a lot of us have. My dream in particular has been to.
Let's just say that there has to be a lot of incompetence from the top down for that to happen. Okay, there's a reason you don't really see that. And the reason is it's normally a fucking bad idea.
To make a game, just like something that I can call my own, and something that's like genre defining and just ambitious and really grand.
Reinvent the fucking wheel for something that is already could be a good game, but we're just gonna bury it in dumb shit. Genre defining. I mean, it's already genre defining because you have unlimited players. Can we just work off of that? Like, I'm curious to see what all he goes into about that, or if he does it all.
And even on PlanetSide 2, I've had a lot of agency, but I don't think that's we're not at that point. But maybe
Good.
if there's future projects, I'll be able to accomplish my goal, and then go into the spiraling decline that gold medal Olympiasts do. After they've reached the peak of their career. Yeah, but no, the story is it is pretty good. Like every step that I've kind of taken has been toward this goal in some way or another.
Yeah, Wrel really peaked at the Leviathan loadout. I think that was his peak.
Well, why don't you take us through it? I know that you started making PlanetSide YouTube videos as far back as 2012. Is that where the story starts for you? What's a logical starting point to your mind?
Yeah. So that is probably a good starting point. I think I was in the Navy at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and was working on this side, the YouTube stuff. I've done videos in the past, like Warcraft or World of Warcraft, and then Warcraft 3 videos and that sort of thing. Just video creation in general is something that I've kind of enjoyed doing, and in game design like as well. Just like the little, I have journals and journals and journals and journals of just like ideas for games or just like classes inside of games and all that sort of fun stuff. And I think that most people probably have like most people who aspire to being in game design probably do something similar. But yeah, with my channel, it was really more of a, like, I didn't go into it.
Do you think we're getting fucking balance changes from a Rel design journal? His diaries from 2020 or 2012. I wonder.
Saying like, hey, I want to do YouTube for a living. Yeah, totally defeats the point. It's more like, I really like making videos, and what can I do that's like helpful? And actually, my kick was interesting, helpful, and entertaining. Those are kind of the three pillars that
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to achieve with my channel. And yeah, it just kind of went up from there. I mean, there was a lot of people when the game launched. I was doing Mass Effect 3 multiplayer content, I
Mm-hmm.
think, at the time, and there wasn't really like a niche for that. It doesn't seem like I was able to do anything that other people weren't already doing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Just like now.
PlanetSide 2 had launched, and I was really interested in the game, and it was just a lot of fun. And there were a lot of content creators who were like, you had Total Biscuit, you had Level Cap, you had Sergeant Merrill
A lot of
doing
big
stuff.
names who were big
Yeah,
before PlanetSide.
yeah. And then a lot of like mid-tier channels who are kind of doing like Kool-Aid Line. I used to watch all the time. STL Youngblood, he does Star Citizen stuff now. Um, I was following them, and like I just kept going in my little niche, and doing my my videos, and eventually a lot of them fell off or moved to something else, and I think that kind of helped solidify what I was doing, or like my place as a content creator.
Okay.
Just the consistency, creating the stuff. Like obviously there was a need for it.
Mhm.
When it comes to uh, PlanetSide 2 in general, like new player experience is really awful.
Yes.
Continues to be awful. So
So do something about it.
making videos was that was like an angle for me. It was just I tried to help new players at like every turn. So that was something that they were able to kind of latch onto.
I mean, you've only been working on the game for 4 years now, so you're gonna get around to doing anything, man.
And let's see, and that's
So yeah, you
yeah.
were at this point you had a we're talking like maybe 2013, 2014, you become established as a PlanetSide YouTuber. You're the guy people go to for weapon reviews. You're the guy people go to for how do I play Heavy Assault? How do I play Infiltrator? You're doing a lot of these how-to videos and also some news updates as well, some overviews of systems when they come in the game. All great content.
See, we always said like the established community of people that like knew what the fuck was going on. We always looked at Wrel as like, okay, Rel's fine if you're gonna go watch videos on how to start playing the game, but God forbid, don't fucking watch or listen to this person for anything past like your initial stages. Like, if you want to go to him for tutorials on how to get into the game, that's fine. But other than that, this is how a lot of these content creators for this game, that's generally where they fall into. Like, if don't go into like one of these guys, like for example Rel's channel, don't expect to learn everything about the game or how you should play the game from his channel. Go to get the basics, because what ends up happening is the same thing you've seen with Sirius. Is that people go to his channel, he teaches them how to stop eating boogers, he gets them ready with their little lunch pail and sends them to fucking 5th grade. He makes sure they get to the bus stop and get picked up, but really he's a 6th grader. So it's like, it's a 5th grader listening to a 6th grader. And so Wrel was kind of the same way.
Take me back to 2015. This is the timeline as I understand it.
That far.
And I might, well, I hope you remember. But late 2015, you're still making YouTube videos for PlanetSide. And then in January 2016, you upload a video saying, hey, I'm working with Daybreak Games, the then studio for PlanetSide. What happened between making videos on YouTube in 2015 and that video? How did that relationship kind of get started?
Was it in 2015?
Ass kissing, never criticizing, and always being an XD nice guy.
I think so.
And having a following.
It was your life, so you should correct me if I'm wrong.
See, the thing is that like, it's all a blur.
Fair enough.
To me, but yeah, no, I was originally doing contract work for them pretty early on.
How did that get started though? Did they just like email you? Did you email them? Like, what was it like? Do you remember?
Let's see. So, David Carey was the producer of the game. I guess 5 years ago now.
D Carey, dude,
and
another useless troll.
And I was at SOE Live, during a year at some point, and I had talked to him.
So hello,
and
hello everybody.
That there's not just one way to get into the games industry. Like a lot of people go through QA and they kind of work their way into those roles.
Right.
But really what it comes down to, and this is totally not verbatim, and a lot of it is just like the message that I was getting from him, is is just like the passion and the interest and the willingness to like do the work. And that was kind of, you know, where I was at with just the channel. And anybody who has run a YouTube channel, which is probably not many people in the audience, or just in general, I guess, it's actual work. Believe it or not, it is. There's definitely some clickbaity stuff that you can do, you know, to up views and that sort of thing, and that's
Like shitty loadout videos for roleplay.
totally not my kick. But it's like making one video is at least uh, you know, 8 to 24 hours, you know, depending on the length of it. And that's, you know, make at least 4 week, more preferably. And if they have, like, if you're doing substantial content within them too, like it's hard work. Yeah, and then you don't get paid for it. Not really. Like the money that I was making from YouTube was not worth mentioning. I had a
What was your peak
Patreon.
subscriber count? I think you had like 76.
85,000.
So
It's
85K,
around,
not
yeah.
making dough.
Oh no. Well, yeah, even then, like it's less than you can live off of. I think the majority of my income was actually coming from Patreon. So that's people who like they thought that what I was doing was important in some way or another, and they wanted to contribute.
Pretty sure
to do that.
it's still like that.
The
So you don't make
like
any money on YouTube unless you like
new
you're
player
getting
stuff and
millions of views and shit,
I
man.
really like to do this series called Thoughts on Better Gaming.
Yeah.
Which is more like, you know, philosophical or like sociological, depending on
Tell
the
me
video.
about that. What inspired those videos?
That's a good question. I don't know. Please do not go sub to my Patreon. I don't know if it's still up. It might still be up. Hopefully most people have fallen off. I think I have a disclaimer on it.
Well, you clearly, this was a work of passion for you. I don't get the sense that you were working on YouTube videos with the hope that someone would notice you and ask you to join the team. It was kind of one thing going to the other, right? But
yeah.
The idea that passion reads, I think, is evergreen. It's something you can't fake. And people recognize, I think most people recognize the amount of effort that it takes to make a YouTube video of a really complicated game system to get footage, to make it look nice,
zero effort, boys.
And more importantly, to be consistent with those things. Something that I've struggled with.
You know how I make YouTube videos?
I
highlight stuff off my Twitch,
talking to someone and then putting it on YouTube,
click the
and
button,
I find it hard to be regular with that.
And make it upload to my YouTube.
Involved, so
you're doing a great job, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Zero effort.
I'm trying to parlay my experience running corporate conference calls into talking about video games. You all can let me know how it's going.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, so talking about getting started with then Daybreak Gaming. David Carey, you said there's more than one way in, not just the traditional QA route.
There's more than one way in.
What door did that open for you?
Let's see. So the details are all kind of fuzzy. I'd have to go back through emails from years and years and years ago. But at one point, I was asked to interview, like, you know, fly down to California, and which I did, and I met everybody there. And let's see, I can't remember if this was before the contract work or I think it was. No, it was before the contract work.
I need to ask what the contract work is.
Did an interview, and this was after getting a message from Andy Seitz.
But to be
David
fair,
had split from the company at the time. They'd gone through whatever.
Or DG is a much better interviewer than
2015
anyone else,
when it
in my
SOE
opinion.
to Daybreak, right?
Yeah, is that when PS4 released as well? I think so.
Archie is in the chat. God damn it, dude.
Yeah.
This
that
chat
was
is
kind of
cringe,
a part
man.
of the process too. So I went down and I interviewed and got to talk to each individual on the team, and I was kind of like fanboying because as a gamer, I'd seen these people. It's so funny. I had seen these people that comment on like Reddit threads and stuff, and they'd share this or they talk about that, or you'd see them in there was like videos that SOE did way back, just like doing like little cheesy interview videos, and there's like the work in progress streams and everything else. they kind of came along with it, and
Remember,
and
like back when they used
I
to
got
put
meet
effort
them,
into
right,
shit.
on the game that I love and doing things on.
What happened?
And that, yeah,
What
I
was that
forgot
like?
forget how exciting that was. Yeah, it's well, you don't think about it now, right? And I kind of yeah, it's kind of interesting to think about in
'Cause
general, I
the
think.
you that you are now would be over it because you've been in those shoes now. But looking back,
Yeah, I don't necessarily know. I mean, over it's probably not like the
okay,
right
okay.
word. Like I still am like really excited to meet people who work on other
Dude, there's
projects. Not that I've
there's a fucking
that many.
gnat in here.
Um, but yeah, so maybe that's just like an inherent uh game gamer thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Remember,
Maybe it's
guys,
just me.
Rel is a
Maybe I'm just weird.
gamer. All right.
A designer being excited about meeting other
He
designers that
remembers
work
his
on games.
gamer
It's totally
roots.
natural. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you flew down, you interviewed,
Mhm.
then what happened?
I tried to convince Andy Sites not to hire me.
Fuck. Can we live in that timeline, man? Fucking.
Why would you do that?
So basically, what I
You're a
told him
gamer
was that
too, dude? Wow.
okay, so here's the candid stuff. So we go sit down, and I meet with everybody, and I got some questions from Luke Sigmund, and I got some questions from Kriegshauser, and Bishop, and that sort of thing, and talk to everybody who was around, and then I sit in with Andy Sites, and I'm talking to him, and I'm saying that I like I don't have any experience in the games industry. Like what you guys need right now is probably a coder so you can make the game better, and like that was my concern.
It's still a fucking concern.
Because I really really like this game. uh,
Oh,
but he said that like spots for designers are opening up, like when we because we're about to ship PS4 and whatever else, or something along those lines.
Why couldn't he have gotten like stuck like permanently on PS4? Like, Rel, we're gonna give you complete creative control over PlanetSide 2 on PlayStation 4. Not PC, just PlayStation 4. Like that, he would have your own little quarantine zone for this man. Like that would have been the perfect scenario, but we just didn't get that.
But I was like, I told him basically that I absolutely had to work from Connecticut, because I have a family and everything else. And he said like, we'll see what we can do, set you up and that sort of thing. And we did, but not right away. I think that there was like a long period during the PS4 launch. I don't know what was going on there at the time, but I got like ghosted for a few months or a couple months at the very least. And then I get an email later.
Good sign. I remember when I got out of the military and I came home and was applying for like government jobs in the local area. I shit you not, I came home late 2017 and I got a fucking reply from one of the jobs I applied to like 2 weeks ago. Like no shit. Two fucking weeks ago for some shit I applied for in like December 2017. Like the fucking government is it's so terrible.
Recollection could be faulty. There could be some missing stuff.
Oh, by the way, I wasn't considered for the position, so yeah, there goes that.
There's some misinformation here, some fake news, but this is how I remember it.
okay.
And so I get the email, and then I can't remember. I want to say that I went down there again. I could be wrong about that. But either way, I started doing contract work for them out in Connecticut.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And this was a very interesting experience because basically like they sent me a computer it was just like a work computer, and it has like I can connect to all our tool sets and that sort of thing. And I was since I was just there on my own, nobody was like sitting there saying like, this is how you do this and this is how you do this. I was just going into design tool and like ripping things apart and like reverse engineering everything that I possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
It was at one point actually I created a bunch of new vehicle stuff that they got in trouble for. So I had to delete it all. It was like new abilities for the Vanguard, the Prowler, and
Like
the
what?
Lightning, and then the Mag Rider. Let's see. All right. Well, people are gonna hate on me for this. Remember, I was younger.
So it's not all that long ago.
Let's see. I did Empire specific abilities for the Lightning. So like one was like a lockdown for the Lightning.
Lockdown lightning, dude.
One was for the Terran, obviously. One was a mag burner for the Lightning, which just went forward. But
You can tell he's very creative. You know what he did? He took shit that was already in the fucking game and he just copy and pasted it onto the Lightning. Does that sound familiar?
it was like amazing.
Is- yeah.
And then one was a shield, just to mirror all the faction traits, but
Right.
Mirror.
on the smaller platform. Realistically, I don't know if the
Idea bankrupt since 2016, boys.
Lightning would actually, you know what? I think all those abilities probably could work.
Yeah.
But and then for the Prowler, I did it was something like akin to doing like hitting an e-brake. Like it'd make you go into this stealth mode, like it basically give you stealth, and then it'd make your tread slip, but intentionally, so you can kind of like sneak in on people. And it's just
What would ever be the fuck?
it's more like an interesting idea than anything else.
Sneaky
It changed
Prowler.
the handling characteristics. Yeah. So imagine sledding, right? Or just like
Yeah.
whatever. Oh, and it killed all of your engine audio, and it killed all of your
Oh, by the way, we killed all the fucking audio, all the useful audio in the game anyway. So you have it right here, guys. This was a design intention from day one.
your particles and everything else. So just like you just like would
Is it
slide.
like drifting?
This is the lead game designer, by the way.
Yeah. So you can go at an angle, and, like slide in, and then like fire at people or whatever, and then you let off the space bar or whatever it was, and then you could start going again. And actually you can move faster than you could normally, just like by using the terrain.
Uh-huh.
So it was fun. Probably doesn't make sense for that to be in the game, but
We could say that about so much.
Oh, it
super
sounds
fun.
so fun though.
Super fun.
Also, the idea that mag burning lightning is going to be burned into my head now. I have to think about that one.
Yeah, no, and it had like super harsh thrust, so it just like you'd ramp off of things. And then the let's see, the Mag Rider one was what was it? Yeah, I can't remember. Can't remember what the Mag Rider one was. But the Vanguard was it was like a low scale turbo. So basically the thought was like, what would NC do if they wanted their Vanguard to go faster? Oh, they'd probably just strap a big rocket on the back, like a rocket engine. But it was like that. It would just like it'd help you get up hills, basically. So it wasn't like a thrust like the Mag
Like a
Rider.
torque boost.
So you could get up to the top of the hill and then shoot a fucking spawn room on Esamir down in the fucking trough that has been designed.
Kind of idea.
It was like a consistent,
Why else would you need to get on top of a hill with a vehicle?
sort of thing. And I thought that was really cool too. Actually, you know what? And then I did a second one. There was
It's all coming back
very,
now.
Very different. Yeah. But this was for the Vanguard as well. And what it did is it turned you invisible. Now, turned you invisible, right? But like it did it in a way that didn't cloak you. It actually like disintegrated your chassis. So all you would see was like the particle trails of the Vanguard, like at a distance, and then it'd rematerialize. You couldn't turn it on, you couldn't toggle it, but it was on, and then you go and you sneak into position, and then you like rematerialize. Kind of like the cordium veins, like when you deplete them, like they kind of dissolve.
I can
it's
imagine
the same thing, but in reverse.
So you got in trouble for all that.
Hi, Ruben.
So yeah, I got in trouble for that, and yeah, it was more like hey, don't do this, like unless we have something specific that we want to do. But for me, it was more about making things. Like I love to create. The act of creation is something that I'm really passionate about, and that's kind of helped propel me through the years, of especially of having smaller team and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I was watching your interview with Mukas you did a couple months ago,
Mhm.
and one of the things that you said.
Did Mukas ask him about fucking free energy shit? Or the Jewish conspiracy? I wonder if he asked him about
Yoshi
that on the
described this
interview.
time, and you said how important
Fucking
it
Mukas,
was to
dude.
be. You were described as being a self-motivated time, and what you just described sounds like it matches up with that 100%. You didn't make the vehicle changes because anyone told you to. You wanted to make something, and I'm sure it helped you learn the tools in a way that you wouldn't have learned it if you had just been following someone else's, task
yeah.
list, right?
Yeah.
Self-directed is usually a better way to learn things, I've found.
Mhm.
So this sounds to me like kind of like a designer instinct. Do you think that's accurate? Like, is this the inner designer coming out?
Yeah, but there's kind of a difference. And some
Okay.
designers just want to they want a checklist, and then they like do the tasks that are asked of them. And then some people, will do like be able to take on systems and call it their own. And
No, I'm not
that's
clicking
kind of
that.
the
Kuhamis.
that's what you
I'm
want.
not
You want
clicking
people
that,
who are
sir.
willing to take some sort of agency over the systems, and also just like run with it. Like, if every little detail isn't thought out, they're like, yeah,
I'll
I have
click
an
it
idea.
later.
They can, they
But
can
I'm pretty
fix
sure
this.
I've seen
Yeah.
it
And
already.
it's about people like, going back in and like finding all the holes that they probably have, in their design stuff too. And then for me,
Yeah,
it's more about
I've
like,
seen it.
well, I guess along the same lines, but I like to invent the stuff too. So it's like what can we do to make the game super cool, or like what weapon would we want to see in the game.
Reskins, very creative and original.
And like I do the task, and then I make the thing. I mean, it's I'm making it sound like I'm a rogue agent, which is a little bit true.
I know what you're talking
But
about. I
yeah.
actually, I had the pleasure of conducting a lot of interviews for my team at work. I work at a tech job. I'm about half split between doing actual work and talking to people. And one of the qualities that I scan for when I'm talking to people is agency, the ability, the experience and the ability to actually take ownership of a task and not just do what you're asked, but to also bring something of yourself to the assignment and kind of
You don't
propel
know
it
who he
yourself.
is? You've never seen him anywhere?
And that's an important quality, I think, to have.
I don't really know,
And
but
I think it
the
really
interviews that
distinguishes,
he
like, a lot of
does
people you
are
see
way
out there
better
as
than
creators
any
on YouTube
Archie
or on
bullshit you're gonna
Twitch.
get. Or I think he does a good
Generally,
job.
it's probably biased towards
Generally.
people who have that kind
He's
of
really
attitude, where
fucking.
they want to be.
He's really
let's say,
straight
the
to the.
agency. They want to.
His questions
have ownership
sometimes
of the
are a little
process.
like winded and stuff,
Versus like
it's
you say,
very
people who just kind of
simple.
want to
Like,
work from a task.
I
list.
enjoy the stuff that he does
no,
better.
it's kind of it's almost like an entrepreneurial instinct. Just the
It's much
like
more
you're
like
putting yourself into
like
whatever you
semi-professional,
wanna do.
you know?
Yeah, no,
How
it's
important is
super
that?
important.
How important is that quality to game design?
It's really important. I think on a bigger team, you could probably get away with more people who are content to kind of like go down the checklist. But on a team that like we have, let's see, three. I want to say 3.5 designers. One designer we just brought on, and he's actually from QA, and he's doing a great job.
There's QA. That's a lie. They don't have any QA. They didn't. That was a lie.
But even that's like it's not a lot of designers in the scheme of things, especially for a game of this scope and of this scale. So the more that
And if that guy's from QA and like ascended the ranks of the fucking QA that's there, I don't know if you guys have played this game in the last 5 years or so, but it seems like QA is non-existent. So, good addition. I'm sure he'll be fine.
I guess you're willing to come, like maybe even not come up with the specific idea, but like say like this is the idea. What can we do to make it amazing? And just like have that
Put it in a loot box.
person kind of invest themselves in it. That's extremely important. If it's somebody that we have to babysit, like show them how to do every little thing, and they're not like willing to explore like the potential paths to
Mm-hmm.
get to the destination, then it's oftentimes like more trouble than it's worth.
Mm-hmm. Or just do it yourself. That kind of
Right.
idea.
Oh yeah, no, and that's a really bad habit of mine.
Mm.
um I really just want to do everything, and I really have a hard time sharing.
You told me yesterday when we met just to kind of go over what we were going to be doing, that you had were tired because you worked all day Sunday.
Yeah.
That what was going on then?
Working on the fucking Lord's Day, dude. That's a sin.
Part of it, we definitely have a deadline that we want to hit with
Mhm.
this coming update, and to be honest, we're behind. And that's actually, honestly, that's why the summer
Ooh.
event even
Get
came
out
out
the
to begin
phone
with.
right.
You guys don't even have to play Warframe, dude. You can just wait a year and Planetside 2 will be Warframe. Just wait a little bit.
Now. Get back to work.
Right. Yeah. So I really just want to do more. Like, it's a lot of times,
Mhm.
there's not enough, or it's not done quick enough, or we hit roadblocks. Like, a lot of times it's just unavoidable, where you think that your systems can do something, and then you'll hit the roadblock, and then you either need to find a way around it,
Mhm.
which we often do, but sometimes you settle for like a lesser product, or you have code or some other discipline take a look at the blocks and see if they can resolve them on their side, which then allows you to push through. But even the uh, so the blockers themselves obviously slow you down, especially all the head banging that you're doing trying to figure out the problem, before like realizing that it's something that you can't solve. And then there's things like just the context switch too. Like having to start something new when you've kind of been in the groove working on one thing is that can slow you down as well.
Mhm.
So uh, the more that we can try to avoid that, the better. Obviously, a lot of that comes from good planning, which we're still trying to figure out, especially in this kind of work from home situation. I think it's a
Mhm.
lot easier to get everybody in the same room and then like talk to them with your hands and a whiteboard than it.
You can do the same. You can do this exact same fucking thing from your computer. Like, I don't know. I don't know if any of you have had to like adapt. Well, obviously you have, but like, this whole thing, if anything, this whole Corona shit has just made it crystal clear, I think, to so many people that the necessity to be in close proximity with fucking people, like for shit like this, is just not necessary. Like, it's just, you don't need to do it.
It is
You
to
can
kind of do
accomplish
everything
all
from
the same shit
work from home.
from home.
And then
Sure.
there's just a general awareness, when you're constantly being able to keep people up to date in person. Way easier to walk over to somebody's desk and say like, hey, can you look at this thing with me or whatever, than it is to try to contact them online and then convey the same ideas. So it's definitely a learning process for us. I think escalation was a really good update, and then every um, uh, then basically our work from home stuff really kind of kicked off. So we're still in that adaptation process.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, and that's a good topic to go over. I definitely want to come back to that. But before we really dig into the current state, I want to go back to the story of Wrel.
God damn
Last
it,
we
dude.
left off, we were talking about you just getting started as an independent contractor, right? That's your self motivation to learn these tools. And then, so as an outsider, I look back at your channel. I see a video in January that says, "Hey, I'm working with the company. Here's what this means for the channel." Was it hard to keep up YouTube while you were also doing this work on the game?
Not initially, and then it got really rough, like draining.
Mm-hmm.
Is what it comes down to.
I mean, how hard could it be when your fucking videos are like, you take 10 minutes to talk about some abstract thoughts on better gaming? You write I mean, I assume you would write a script for that. Maybe sometimes, I don't know. And your other videos are literally talking about what's been put into the game. Like, it doesn't. I hate when these people that fucking do like these little. There's not. It's not that hard. It's like there's not that much effort that goes into like shit like that.
Dude, like I would still like to make videos if I felt like I had the energy for it.
Mhm.
But for me, it's like you wake up and then you do all these, try to do amazing things every day, and then you go to sleep. And that's not super healthy. Like if I was burning the midnight oil to try to get these videos and stuff done, it would be very difficult and very taxing, physically and kind of mentally as well. And then honestly, like I don't know that those videos would have like the same value either.
Mhm.
And that's something that I started to realize too. Uh, I thought that it would be, conceptually, I think it's a fun idea for like somebody who's developing the game to kind of like give you all the rationale between like how these things came into being and kind of what the thought process was behind it. But in actuality, it's
Like being transparent as a game designer, like explaining your thought process. We're about to hear why that's not an option.
people don't take it the way they probably should take it.
Hmm.
I think when it comes down to it,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, there's the bit, and you alluded to something like this earlier about how what people know about you and your position, your status, is you can't pull it apart from the message. People always see things in the context of the person who's delivering it.
Mhm.
So that was I'm sure, a really big change for you. Was it like an all at once kind of thing, or did it was like over time, like you said about the videos?
Oh no, that's something I had to learn. Like, it's funny because I've had kind of, I guess I guess I would describe it as like a contentious relationship with the vocal community, like especially in certain forums, Reddit being the primary one.
I love Reddit.
Where I don't like to like let people walk over me,
Mm.
but I found like giving those rebuttals and
He found that responding to your put together questions was you, or if in any way that you criticize this guy, I can see now he thinks you're trying to gain some kind of leverage or walk over him. When in reality, it's more of we're just looking for answers, man. I'm not trying to gain any fucking standing over you, but I don't know what happened in this guy's life to where he has such a fucking Napoleon complex. Like he just thinks people are always trying to get over on him or something. But we just want fucking answers for shit. It's not about trying to make you look bad. I mean, you make enough stupid decisions to where you don't have to worry about the community making you look bad. But like, this is so weird.
especially in usually like a kind of a sassy way or like a condescending or demeaning way in some cases. uh like that sort of stuff would go to haunt you for a long period of time. And also as somebody in a position of authority, like that is something that I had to figure out, like, yeah, maybe that's not the best thing for me to be doing.
Like banning people on fucking stream for killing your vehicle with your admin tools.
But at the same time, like I was trying to mesh these two worlds of people being like being the player, right? Who I still believe that I'm like the game's harshest critic to this day.
Mm.
Community maybe doesn't see it all the time, but um, and then the developer side, right? So I wanted to be the player, but also be the developer as well, and kind of like convince people, like, hey, I'm still you guys, and I still have these same concerns, but honestly, it just
What's
didn't
up,
make sense
fellow
to do that.
kids?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, exactly. That's uh, exactly. But it really didn't make sense. So I started to try to like distance myself and also like just take the beatings that the community was willing to dish out or
Yeah,
whatever.
take that
And
fucking beating,
I
boy.
just kind of shrug it off nowadays. Because hey, surprise, on the internet, people are kind of crappy. Uh, but it's also just not worth fighting those fights anymore. So I think that if we
Cause we're not gonna fix it anyway.
keep like moving forward, like that'll hopefully end up eventually being like kind of all the evidence that people need.
Sure, sure.
Still waiting, by the way.
And one of the things that I've heard you say is that the way people interact with you is based much more on how well the game is doing than on what you have to
Mhm.
say.
Yeah, Yeah, it's really interesting. You can so when people are in good spirits, you could honestly you could say anything, and people would be like, "Yeah, yeah, we love it." And
That's Reddit.
then if the game is doing poorly and you're like you're putting in like your heart and soul into this update that's meant to like alleviate issues or like bring some good back to the game or just like alleviate concerns of the community, it's like um they'll start complaining about something else, or they'll best case scenario is that they say, why did it take this long to do this, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, I get it, that sucked, but like, can we just start like move ahead?
Yeah.
But I think that's probably a mentality that's just like it's kind of beyond people, when they're like acting emotionally or just trolly or under
Hmm.
the veil of anonymity that comes with being an internet individual.
Yeah. I think also too, there's like a limited access thing. Like,
Mm.
um,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, being out in front of the community, people feel like you. It's been interesting. The more I kind of have poked back to see like, who you've talked to, what videos that you've been on from other creators and things like that, the more I realize that you are kind of you hang around PlanetSide. You're on Twitch. You're keeping tabs on things. You're reading the Reddit threads.
Hmm.
Um, it's clear that you've changed when you decide to weigh in and how you do when you do decide to. But you're still very active there, and you're one of the outside of like seeing Alan,
Where do you find
and
this
now
video? Just
we're
fucking
getting these fantastic
go to the
any
PlanetSide
time of the week updates from
page
any
under
site whenever
Twitch and
anything is
click
happening.
videos, and then
Hmm.
it's like
I'm
the third
convinced that
one
guy
in.
must not
It's the
sleep a lot
DG
too.
interview with Wrel.
I don't know. The guy works so hard.
Yeah, it's clear to me. Um,
It's like the third through the
but
sixth. It's somewhere
how
in there.
important is it that the community has access to the people who are working on the game? To your mind?
That's a good question that I really don't have the answer for. So so, a long time ago, what was his name? Tony, community manager. Can't
Fat fucking Tony Radar X. That's all you need to say.
Radar X.
Chat.
I can't remember
What's
why.
the chat?
Can't remember his name because he was irrelevant.
Can't remember his last name. For some
Someone
reason.
will tell us. Continue.
Tony Soda.
Yeah.
Tony Hot Sandwich.
But he and I did an experiment on Reddit where we just did not communicate for 30 days. 30 days, solid. No post, no nothing. And we checked the engagement, with the people who are running Reddit, and there was no difference between like if we engaged or if we didn't engage. Like people just like to talk.
That's because we all thought you were fucking stupid.
Granted, at the time, I think something that might skew the numbers is that there was network issues too. There
Like now.
were like a big deal, so there was probably more to talk about then. But like realistically, it's hard to actually determine how much it helps versus how much it hurts, and especially I think if you look at other games.
We just want. I think he's going to talk about Siege here, but I'm curious how much he actually knows about the situation in Siege.
The intention, the intent to communicate is kind of all over the board.
Mhm.
Like you look at Warframe, who's like very invested in their community, and they're doing all these forums and all these.
This guy is
like
obsessed
they're
with
chiming in
Warframe,
to
dude.
post and everything else.
Weekly streams, giveaways all
Oh
the
yeah,
time.
yeah, and they do
And
a great job, and like I
very
can't express.
centralized too.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's so much work and love and effort goes into the game and the community from them. And I wish I knew how much they got out of it, because I think that'd be illuminating for me. But then you look at other games like actually I might be speaking out of turn, but I don't think that like Bungie tends to communicate at least not nearly as much as
Bungie had to fucking. I would have to get Brodo on here for this one, but fucking Bungie. What has happened to Bungie in the last like year or so? Like holy shit! Like fucking Destiny 2 was a fucking that game was a piece of shit, and the community was so fucking mad, dude. Like, I feel like they had no choice but to be way more fucking. They literally had no other choice but to be really vocal and start talking with the community again, because that game was a fucking dumpster fire.
As Warframe does, and even their patch notes are really kind of like vague. Like they're not telling you the individual values that are
They
changing.
have
They're
to
just
really
saying like,
held
oh, this
back.
does less damage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
Warframe, they make it kind of feel like you're walking into their kitchen while they're working on the game at the same time. Like they put to your point,
10-minute, where were you on the
tremendous amount of
fucking
effort.
raid Wednesday?
And they
you
have
fuck.
senior stakeholders on the game from different departments on.
You
every
said you were
single
going to
week
be there.
to
You
share
lied.
things.
Lie detector determined that was a lie.
I dare say I think that they've
Got
been
into a
burned
car
few times,
crash.
but because
Shaking my
they've set
head.
an expectation with their community of such high access and such
Yeah,
high
yeah.
agency that there's a story that you tell when you say come into my kitchen.
I
which
didn't see you
implies,
post that on the
"Help me
raid.
make
The raid
dish."
sign up.
And if you don't actually accept the help or the feedback,
No, I'm just kidding, bro. I hope you're okay.
it's a tough thing. And the idea of a live services video game like a Planet Side or Warframe or something like that.
I hope
think
it
is still
wasn't your
something-
fault, so you don't have to pay, because I know you're
correct me if I'm
poor.
wrong, but I think everyone's still figuring out how the heck to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Actually, you bring up a good point with kind of the
I hope it was Karen's fault.
when you don't take people's feedback into consideration, or I'm butchering your verbiage, but a lot of times feedback sucks. So like it's or
This is true and not true. So he said the feedback sucks. I'd like him to elaborate.
it doesn't make sense at the time, or like we have no plans to change that, or we are putting things into the game in a certain way now because we know what's coming in the future that we haven't like revealed to you yet. There's always like a lot of stuff that's happening in the background, and like us as game developers, like we have to think, kind of years in
You look like a
advance,
Redditor, dude.
or else we're I mean, you get into the point where you're just like living from update to update, and like that's not good. And I know because I've had to do that. But yeah, so like as far as how much value does the community's opinion have, and also like how do you determine it? Like how do you determine what people
Imagine
actually
soup time, but 150 pounds overweight.
want versus like what's actually
So
healthy
like
for the game.
DG
A lot of times you'll have
with a beard.
you'll have people who
I think that's
I mean, they
fair.
certainly know what they don't like. They may not know why they don't like it, and they most likely don't know the solutions.
Or he looks like Rich Evans.
And even solutions that seem like a good idea could be like seem like a good idea because it's who it's coming from, or because they're not like kind of thinking about like everything else that would actually happen, surrounding it. And you see stuff like that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we are all still figuring it out, like even when it comes like not to just the long-term stuff but the short-term stuff as well. How much community interaction you want to have, and like how do you funnel like how do you leverage your community into giving you good feedback, like good focused feedback on certain things that you want feedback on. Yeah.
Well, you take people who know what they're fucking talking about, and you listen to those people. And people like this fucking dumbass dipshit rapid relief guy in the chat that spams the chat the whole time. That guy's a fucking idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So there you have a thing where, okay, let's take rapid relief's feedback on Bastion Fleet Carrier. I think that's been well documented, or at least I've put it out there a lot. Rapid Relief's feedback on Bastion Fleet Carriers is they're great for the game and they won't affect the infantry game at all. Obviously fucking wrong. Everybody at the time knew this, but when you're that kind of person who is just like this little dick rider, little fucking worm weasel that just sucks everybody's dick and tries to make friends on the internet, but it's just so fucking cringe and retarded that you just want him to go away and ban him from every fucking channel. Like, when that's the guy that you prop up as who you're going to take feedback from, which he's actually the perfect representation of the PlanetSide community. Rapid is, it's perfect. He's fucking stupid. He's pretty shitty at the game, and he has terrible ideas for the game and also doesn't understand how everything works together. But he pretends to be a nice guy and he sucks everybody's dick and tries to, you know, be friends with everybody. I mean, it's disgusting. Like, that's when you listen to that type of person, this is the type of game you get. The same shit that's wrong is still broken. The same stupid shit that gets tested is broken in test, and then it comes to fucking live because you're listening to people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about from the test server. Like, at what point do you listen to people who fucking understand the game? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Never, I guess.
Two things that you just talked about really leapt out at me. One is the fact that when you're taking feedback from the game, you're having to reconcile it against a vision of the game for you that is patches ahead, which the community doesn't get to see in the same way. That's the first. The second thing is it's something that I've
See, that's not a fucking excuse, man. Like, number one, we don't have that information. That's right. We can only go by the game that we're fucking playing currently. So you can't constantly move the goalpost. Like, that can't be the fucking excuse for you constantly to not do shit right. Oh, well, we can't do this because down the line. Like, you can do that forever and get out of ever addressing anything. Like, do you guys not see the problem with that?
I've heard elsewhere too, talking about the way communities and developers interact.
Because if it's always something that you're going to address down the line, it's a reason why you can't address it now. You never have to fucking address it. And that's why nothing ever gets addressed in this game. That's not an excuse.
Developers don't always know what's wrong with their game, but gamers don't know. While they do know what's wrong, they are not in the best place to know how to address it.
Right.
So you're in the tough spot as lead game designer of having to.
You know what really helps is if you are tuned in and you play the game and you are proficient at it. And that goes such a long fucking way to helping you understand what the problem is. It might not give you the foresight to know what the solution is, because not everybody knows what the solution is. But I say this all the time. If you can't even identify what the fuck the problem is because you're inept, then there's no chance in hell that you're going to find the solution.
Trust what
and that's
people
what we
say
see with
is
this
not
game.
Working, but not be able to necessarily take what they suggest, because most of the really passionate PlanetSide players out there have put in thousands of hours. You can't replace that kind of experience. Like, there aren't that many people.
Wrel wants to diminish this. He wants to diminish this right now. You can see it in his face. He wants to shoot that notion down immediately.
I'm sure in the dev team will have anywhere close to.
Which it's fair to, because there's a difference between, you take two people that have played for 8,000 hours and they might be completely different players. One might actually be good at the game and one might be a fucking retard. Like, take someone like Wawa who has 25,000 hours in the game but he's dog shit. You know? That's the difference.
To that kind of experience.
No, just me.
Right, right, and that's something else we can talk about.
Yeah, but fortunately, I play the game, so like I have a decent
false.
understanding of all these issues, even the ones that that aren't in my.
Can someone please explain what the fuck this is? This is an interview between this man on the left and this man on the right that occurred 3 days ago, and this is me watching the interview and fucking talking about it. Are you still confused? Who is DG? DG is, I don't know, some guy who's popped up. He does these interviews. He's done a few interviews, and he's way better than... Why the fuck is an egg interviewing Wrel? I don't know, dude. But it's a lot less cringe to watch than fucking Archie, okay? Or whoever else is interviewing. This guy at least tries to do, like... no, it's not Soupy.
Specific sphere of expertise, like...
What is it about?
Vehicles to an extent. In construction,
it's
hardly
pretty,
ever touch at all.
It's pretty wide-ranging.
Because it's just not my playstyle.
I'll just say that.
But at the same time, because of my knowledge about the game, like I can see, where people are coming from, and that's important to have too. Unfortunately, so the double-edged sword here is that when people have extensive, time in the game, it also creates a bias. In most cases, I would say, because they're so like honed in on their specific playstyle. That they naturally want to protect that playstyle, or they view things differently, like, oh.
Or you're intellectually honest and you can see, despite what bias you may have, you can still be intellectually honest and identify a problem and say, hey, here's a problem. This is what we could possibly do to fix it. You can't just automatically fuck there. He's kind of right in a sense, but at the same time, you can't just blow it off.
Oh, this is cheap because it's killing me in this way or whatever. And you could. I think one of the cool things about our game is that because there are so many different spheres of influence, when you get them all like talking back and forth to one another, it's very clear that there is no solid answer, which to me seems like,
other than the fact that all the spheres of influence interact poorly with each other, and there's nothing by the developer ever attempted to address any of it.
like, hey, the game is relatively balanced. When people aren't like, when when the whole spectrum of people aren't complaining about the same thing, then
But they are generally.
Then this is it's a pretty good place to be, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense. I've heard you use the word sandbox to talk about PlanetSide.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And it's a big 3-faction game, combined arms, 1,000 different ways to die. And I really like what you just said there about how if not everyone's complaining about the same thing, it means that, well, things are in a relatively, at least if they're unbalanced, they're all still leaning together in a way that it falls together. Some kind of metaphor. I don't know.
I get it.
Thanks,
Sandbox
Wrel.
is excuse for being a bad dev. Wow,
One
dude.
other person in chat. That's it.
Yeah,
That's toxic.
shout out to that one person. Okay. Wow. So many interesting things to talk about. But I really still want to stay focused on this path that you went down. So bringing it back once again to your last time we so
if you guys were here earlier, you would have heard Rel's ideas for
videos, and you said it got hard over time.
faction-specific lightning abilities. They would have blown you away.
So your video that you announced you were working there was January 2016, and the last video on your channel was, I think, November 2017. So about a year and a half, you kept doing videos.
It's back in the VOD towards the beginning. It's.
I wanted to ask you a little
when
bit
Wrel
about
first got his fucking
transition from
computer,
being
they sent him in
independent
Connecticut,
contractor
and he was
working there
doing shit to the
full-time.
game. He did
How
a lot
did
of
that
creative
happen?
things.
Just for clarity's sake, I wasn't an independent contractor per se. Like I think I was actually on the team, like as a, maybe that's not right. As a remote contractor.
See, that's
anyway,
You were remote,
they told me that
the only thing I actually liked about
yeah.
Escalation is that I can
in
independently
Connecticut.
destroy
They
shitter
basically
villages now.
said that you
Great
have
addition.
to come to California if you want to keep working on the game, and that was due primarily to the fact that like they needed to treat me as an employee based on the amount of control that I had. Usually when you're doing contract work,
I'm gonna upload it to YouTube.
Well defined, but for me,
It's gonna be long. I might
it was more
split it up
nebulous,
and like.
I had access to a lot of
There's-
tools and everything else.
So there's a Reddit thread where like it's broken down pretty much by timestamp with the different sections. I guess I could. I'm really fucking lazy and I don't want to edit anything. So instead of jamming a fucking 3-hour interview up on YouTube, I might have to like split it up into different topics. But I mean, there's some topics like I don't really have much to say about. Like a lot of it is just a story and talking and shit. Like I'm not sure it'll go up on YouTube. If anything, I'll highlight it here and just leave it here because I really don't want to jam a 3-hour fucking video up there.
They had to treat me like an employee, and in order for them to do that, due to California law, and hopefully I'm correct on this, I had to at least live somewhere in California. So
Gotcha.
that's what it came down to. And
Okay.
I wouldn't say that it was an easy decision at all.
You moved your family with you?
No. So
Oh wow, that's tough.
yes, which
Wow.
is why it was not an easy decision at all. But yeah, it was. We talked about it, and like the best thing for me was to try to do what I always wanted to do.
Wow. So Wrel
Moving to California
you-
is so terrible.
picked up and went to California. And when you got there, was it any different, or were you just doing the same work in a different place?
You kind of feel sorry for him. Don't.
So yeah, I think the main thing that was different was just being able to interact with everybody. like everybody that I already had kind of like, I mean, not even like met everybody. I don't think. I think there was at least a few people that I hadn't, but just to kind of like work alongside people. I don't know. It's like surreal and crazy. And then also,
This interview put you to
What were
sleep.
some of the highlights? Who was the most not like
I
you
mean,
expected?
it's better than
out of
getting
the whole
like fucking meme horned,
you know,
like with a
I can't say that
soundboard by
people
Archie
weren't
every 3
like what I
seconds,
expected, but
going
there was
like.
a lot of really cool personalities there. Like Bill
I
Yates,
think it's better than that.
he's up in I think Seattle-ish, working on Cryptic or at
Mhm.
Cryptic right now.
Mhm.
But yeah, he was lead artist at the time, and he has this kind of like I don't know, just like he's just a really happy, like jovial
But
dude.
you're gonna have to
So
go
it's fun to
through
be around.
like.
And
There's gonna be some nuggets in
and then
here.
there was
We've
like people
come
that I
across a
didn't
few of
get
them, but
to spend too much time with.
needs
Red
to be
Daughter
sped up to
he was
1.5.
a UI programmer.
Dude,
and he
Rel's
left-
voice would
left
sound
shortly
really
after
fucking weird in
after I got there.
1.5.
And I would remember like him chiming into certain Reddit threads and that sort of thing. And I thought that was cool. So it's just like, yeah, it was just cool, like actually living it. But like
See, that's the problem. Like the way Rel talks, he has these pauses in between when he talks, and then he jumbles like fucking 5 words together real quick, then he pauses, and so it sounds like shit in 1.5. Like, listen,
because I had kind of already been doing the work. What I really enjoyed is that I can go there anytime in the morning and just do work. Like I was there like 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Just like just making things. And it was I love it so much.
It sounds like it was a real.
like I can't listen to that, dude. Maybe 1.25.
I don't know, like a liberation. Like you were there on your own, like, and I'm sure that posed challenges of its own. But being there by yourself on your own steam and having access to everything. What
Well,
kind of,
that's
what
what I
kind of
like.
problems or
That's what I
initiatives were
like
you most excited to work on
about
at
this
that
guy.
stage?
There's no bullshit, man. He's just sitting here. He's
so
got
when I
his
got there,
microphone. He's got a blank ass
if
fucking
I'm
wall.
remembering
Like
the timetable
that's it.
correctly,
Like just asking questions. Like getting to the bottom
that
of it.
was like
Getting
I
the
didn't
meat
actually
of the
get to
story.
spend too
And then when Rel goes off on his fucking dumbass little tangents, he brings him back to where he wants to go with it. Like it's so much better.
much time working with Kevmo and Berness, both of which I had admiration for, because they were moved off to a different project. I think they moved off to H1Z1 at the time,
Right.
Because that was when like H1Z1 was just going off the charts, and they were like.
I need a new
king of the
fucking
genre,
chair,
and it was
gamers.
probably
I'm
champagne
getting a new
bottles and
chair
whatever else. I don't
for
know if I
my
actually
next
probably did
Trump
that
Bucks
stuff.
check, dude.
But
This chair
basically,
is
like,
killing my
it was
back.
like, put all the chips into H1Z1, which included a lot of people from PlanetSide, the PlanetSide 2 team, and I was new, like there, and then Nick was he got there shortly after me. Paul
See, even on 1.25, the way Rel talks, it makes it's still fucking hard to. I don't like it.
Jaja was actually there before me, working in house, and then it was just us 3. It's just like, okay, make the game go. And we're all learning too,
Holy shit.
and that was just the core team. Like we still got some support from like art support from Bishop or from Bill, or I think maybe project management support from Jason Good. So like we weren't just like left flapping, but
Look where H1Z1
was, like,
ended
gonna
up
take on
after
the
they got
project
moved to it.
management
I mean,
role,
they
and
H1Z1 was a
Paul had
license to
actually
print
been,
money, and they
he
fucked
was
that
actually
up.
recruited to
Like
work on a different game, but he ended up getting kind of stuck on PlanetSide 2.
amazing.
And I'm glad that he did, because he is he likes to figure things out, and he's I
And
think
it's
he
funny to me. They always want to take credit.
pretty well,
Like
like,
if you
he
talk
did
to any of those
himself
guys, they're like, we had the first
for,
commercially
like, when
successful
he
battle
has
royale
something
game.
that he wants to do, it's
And
just
then it's like
he'll
they always
he'll
fail to
figure it out.
mention that
And
they
he's a really
fucked
good
it
shepherd
up
of the code base
royally
too,
and
which
ruined
given
it.
the
Like they
history
never
of
mention that. They just want
of
to
the
talk
game.
about how they were
There's been a
the
lot of coders,
first
there's been,
ones to
points
get
up
there
history,
and make
so,
it really
he was
super
really
popular,
trying to
but
drive it forward,
they stopped talking
create,
once you bring
create
up the
something
fact
better,
that they completely destroyed
from
it
then on
because
out.
they're morons.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 3 people who you were the only 3 people who were.
I mean, if you're
working
going to take credit
full-time
for
on
your
PlanetSide.
successes,
You have
be
help
man
from
enough to
outside,
take credit for your
from other
failures, you know?
specialties, let's say, coding, art, PM, like you said. But it was you 3 guys at the core.
Especially when they're as embarrassingly
How
catastrophic
hard
as
was it at
as
that time?
giving away a license to print money like that
I don't
game
know how to
was.
formulate this question. I just can't imagine working on a game the size of PlanetSide with 3 people. I have more people than that on my team, and we do something a lot smaller than PlanetSide, and it feels pretty hard.
So I don't think it was hard. I think it was frustrating. Because like anytime you have ambition,
Holy
and
shit,
don't have
there's that
resources to
many?
accomplish it, it's like kind of a kick in the nuts. But like we just kept doing and kept making, and uh,
That's actually sad. That's more than
and
Emerald has
we
like
we wanted
70% of
to
the
grow the
day.
game out, and I think we did, or
XD.
like at the very least staunch the bleeding, which was like one of my
Who the
goals at
fuck
the
is
time.
still playing that
And
game?
yeah, I think toward the start, if I'm remembering correctly, like I was doing a lot of quality of life stuff, and I was doing a lot of it's kind of like lower key stuff.
Mhm.
Quality of life stuff like damage drop off changes, ambush or jump jet, quality of life stuff.
And like all the new events for holiday directives, like updating those, like that wasn't a thing that happened. You had the same Halloween event for 4 years or whatever it was.
Right.
Just like a
Is he talking about 2016 to 2020, or is he talking about from before? Because are the fucking holiday events? They're like the same every season. It feels like to me.
so kind of taking it slow, but also doing like big updates in any way that we could do big updates. Actually, I know you got a bullet point talking about combined arms, but that actually was with when I had Burness and Kevmo available, and that's like basically all we had was design design work or design resources.
So you couldn't put new vehicles in the game. You couldn't implement new major systems. All you could do as a designer at that point is, well, come up with good ideas and maybe play with numbers. It sounds like maybe I'm reducing it a little bit.
And you did nothing even with that.
Yeah, so it's certainly not numbers. Like a designer has a lot of power depending on the skill sets that they have.
Okay.
Like I can, for example, create a weapon in 3D art, and then put it into like get a process to put it into the game and create the icons and then create all the stats for it, and then create the particle effects for it, and then put it into the game.
Oh,
Also
okay.
like all the marketing data, and then the event that is tied to it. So Little Helper is an example of a really horrible looking 3D model, but there's been other stuff too, like the anniversary stuff. A lot of those things I did. And it's like
Okay.
some of the best selling stuff, and it was just me over like a weekend or
That's
or
pretty
a week,
cool.
I think. Yeah, no, I mean, so like you have a
You
lot of
heard
power
it here,
depending on the skill
guys.
set.
Gotcha.
It's more like how good are you at those things? Like if I was really good at 3D modeling, like I could probably get a lot more done, and not for lack of trying. It's difficult, and it requires people who know what they're doing more than me. Yeah, like all the camos, do the art in Photoshop, and change all the reflective values and that sort of thing, and make it super
So
spicy. Yeah.
So a small number of people, you did
Mhm.
have some ability on the team, but it's not the same if you have like, say, compare it to what you're working with today, where it seems like you have a lot more specialist talent just ready to go when you need it.
But that's the thing. Like, I don't. Why would he be doing that job? Like, that's what's so like the upper management at fucking Daybreak must be so fucking. I mean, we already know this, but they must be so incompetent. Like, no, I get there were 3 people, but even now, like,
Right. Yeah. The people that we're working with now,
it makes no sense.
They have been there for quite a while. The majority of the team, like vast majority of the team, a lot of which worked on PlanetSide 2 back before H1Z1, and then moved on to that, and then on to Arena, and then back to
Wow.
PlanetSide 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of history, a lot of experience. Like everybody is like super dedicated. I'm very very happy to have the team that we have. Like everybody there is a rock star, so far as I'm concerned. Um, and yeah, well, like one of the benefits that you have is obviously more people, but obviously people who are specializing in those roles too. So like you just get a better end product. So like
Yeah.
for example, the Bastion, like like not just the model and everything, because that
Because
was
they're incompetent.
done originally in PSA, but then we like redid it for PlanetSide 2. But like the explosions that come off of it, like when the thing blows up, like it's beautiful, gorgeous, and then all the audio work, everything else, like I can't do that.
Yeah. It's great watching
So
those things
there's like
blow up.
yeah, yeah. So like more hands is helpful, and then more like specialized people is like super helpful. So
Who would have thought?
Game development should actually look like. Shouldn't look like just us trying to make it go.
So when you were trying to make it go, you used the word staunch the bleeding. What bleeding needed to be staunched?
So over time, I mean, all games tend to go this route unless you get some really cool reversals like Rainbow Six Siege or Warframe. But they decline in player base, right? They're new and shiny when they come out, and then people for various new.
So here's a tip on Rainbow Six Siege. Okay, I've played the game for 5 years now, and it had about the game's really sucked dick at launch. Like, when the game came out, it sucked ass. And it lost a lot of players. There was actually no fucking anti-cheat. Lost a lot of players. And then this is gonna blow your fucking mind. They addressed the issues within the game, and the players came back, and the population flourished.
Numerous reasons.
Do you imagine that?
Leave the game. Excuse me. Could be that there's something else that grabs their attention. It could be that their computer can't handle it, or it could be that their group of friends has left, so they then leave. It could be that there's an itch that is no longer being scratched, or like they don't like the direction the game is going, or like there's just a handful of bugs that like constantly just pressure them into just like
that. Everything he just listed is like real time, like today. That's why people fucking don't play it.
They're not dealing with it anymore.
Mhm.
And that could be the new player experience. Like we get loads of new players through the door every day, but can't retain them. It's been a game or an issue that's plagued the game for the entirety of its life cycle.
And it's not because of a fucking tutorial.
And when it comes to increasing populations over time, which is my goal, it is like a lot of it does come down to the new players, because the more you can retain, the more healthy that game will be, and then health kind of fuels itself too. Like once you have more people playing the game, more people are content to play the game.
So you
if you have more people playing the game, you have more people playing the game. That's a nice tautology.
You mentioned Combined Arms Initiative just a few minutes ago. You talked about staunching the bleeding, new player experience. Are these things connected?
Yes. So given at the time, so it was us, 3 designers, we had to decide what we wanted to work on. So the different interacting domains, air, vehicles, ground, or air, vehicles, infantry rather, has always been viewed as a problem.
It's because they interact with each other. The interactivity between those things has always sucked.
I don't think that Combined Arms had the right solutions, but had the right intent.
Which was?
No.
It was a handful of goals. The first was to make it so vehicle combat was...
Combined Arms Initiative is the perfect example of a fucking design patch that is designed by someone who has no fucking functional clue of what the hell happens in the game.
Was not like it didn't just exist to exist, which I think farming infantry like was just a thing that vehicles did. Like it used to be a Hesh vehicle like on every mountaintop.
It wasn't just a thing that vehicles did. There were so many things in the game that lent themselves to that action. Like, it's not just because people did it. It's because it was so fucking easy to do. And, like, everything is set up perfectly for that. You have fucking retarded weapons with splash damage that have no drop-off. You have every base design in a fucking bowl that these vehicles can just go like a drive-in movie theater and sit and spam the base. Like, it wasn't just because that's what people wanted to do.
Just shelling into the points. And, like, if we were able to give them goals, like...
And giving them a fucking goal, like, go drive your tank onto this point that we put in the middle of the fucking field, is so... You're fucking totally missing the point. Like, it's not that they need something to do. It's these fucking cancerous things that are easily accessible to them need to be fucking mitigated in some way.
Potentially, we could help, like, reroute that.
Why is everyone using past tense? That's a thing that, like, it's still a thing now. Like, I don't know why he talks about it like that, because nothing has been changed.
And give them, like, a reason to be in vehicles, too. It was kind of... the goal should be that that infantry, like, primarily are what happens at the bases, and then, like, everything between the bases is, like, governed by the vehicles. That's just where, like, they're
so different actual spatial domains.
Right.
Here, infantry, they're vehicles.
Right. Yeah, and I think, like, some of that we hit, some of it we didn't. When it came
did
to,
Wrel
like,
retire?
the
No.
time to kill increases, for example.
If Wrel had retired, I would be
had to do
playing the
with
game, possibly.
thought that vehicles get destroyed faster than anybody can react to them, especially just, like, high skill level players, like, they know where to ambush.
I do hate it. I don't hate the game, Cheese. I hate this person right here.
You from, or they're just, like, know how to aim better, because honestly, vehicles aren't difficult to control, but
well, hate's a strong word.
So
Can I be prepping for AQ? What do you think I've been doing for the last month? Some of us have one character. Some of us don't have 7 alts. Some of us have exactly one thing to do every day. Okay.
Depending on whose hands are in.
Mhm.
So the thought was that if you increase that time to kill over time, that it'd be a back and forth at least for a little bit, and the high skill player would still have the advantage, of course, because of where they attacked you from, and just the inherent skill advantages that come along with that.
Mhm.
But it really slowed down the game to the point where it was just like
I
more
mean,
kill levels
if I logged in right
at the
now,
end of it.
I would be
So,
looking in
walk back those
trade
changes,
chat.
a lot of combined
Farm
changes.
for
over,
a
like,
4
the next
DPS
year, and it was,
increased
like,
chest
there's
that will
month
be
after month after month
replaced within a month.
of changes, and
I don't think so.
a lot of good
Also,
stuff
that
came out of
is
it too.
complete cancer to
I was gonna
fucking
remember
drop.
this, but
I'm not gonna
Vanguard
be
used to
like
much slower,
what's his
like,
face
I
and
think
run it
Valor used
500
to be
times.
slower.
And also, I
The
don't need
controls
SJC to
of
out
vehicles
DPS
actually
these
got
fucking retards
better,
in this guild.
and less butter sloped than they used to be.
Sorry.
And that was due to putting like a wheel at the center of each of the tanks instead of just the 6 on the side.
I can
And,
have blue
there's changes
gear
to make things like
and
not
out
tip over
DPS
it,
people
as much
who
as
have
they
fucking
they
5
did,
item
and,
level higher than me because
just
they
that
don't know
one
how to
of
press 3
thermals was
buttons.
removed, which was a big. I think it's still kind of a point of contention, just because vehicles like to farm people, and there's like a power fantasy that's like trying to be fulfilled.
It's
But
because you
thermals was
can't.
a big.
That's a big fucking. Actually, that's true, Billy. When Billy wasn't on in the morning to do the SGC runs, like it's just log out.
Like,
So
take it
fuck
away,
you, Billy.
and then
That's
people
your
actually
fault.
have to try, to kill infantry instead of just being able to so easily designate those targets.
Yeah. So thermals, for those who don't know, was a toggle you could have, right? If you're in a vehicle and if you had the right equipment, where it would essentially monochrome out everything except for infantry.
Right.
Did it also? I don't actually remember. I'm also not a vehicle player. Did it also highlight vehicles or just infantry players?
Highlights vehicles as well.
Okay. So
Pretty sure.
anything
pretty
you
sure.
might want to shoot would get highlighted.
Right.
Right. And why did that tilt the gameplay?
Billy, get
towards
your
infantry
ass on
farming?
the fucking game and go to raids, dude.
And alongside that,
It's one night a week.
well, okay, to your point, it is very easy to see.
DG is like
To see, like,
the
when
only
the
competent
contrast is there,
interviewer in
And then
this
if you're like
community.
trying to look through, trees and just other
That's who he is.
noisy, characteristics, or like people who are just like they just blend in when people normally
Mhm.
are like up against a wall or like in a shadow or anything else, and that having to actually look for your prey is it was a big deal, and that was shown like yeah. And
Fire
so
and V-scopes are still in the game for infantry, right?
yes, infantry versus infantry.
So that's not a problem to your mind compared to the vehicle thing. I'm actually
It has
asking because I don't
downsides
know.
Or
associated
she's
with
a
it.
clown.
Yeah. People don't tend to use it because it's a slower draw time,
Right.
and that matters a lot. So like as soon as you can, like the quicker you can snap aim on somebody, then the easier it is to like when you're coming out of a sprint, for example, and then you snap to the head, and it's just it's the quickest way to kill people. But the additional in downsides time is detrimental for people like at least at a
Is
high skill.
Yasper in the
Mhm.
guild?
There's certain strategies that take advantage of it, of course, like smoke was a good one. Yeah. In regards to thermals, like another thing to point out is just when you're in
I'm gonna
trees of
I'm gonna
Hassan,
get on my second
for
account and
example, seeing something
fucking
that's
level an alliance
that's
character
yellow
and gank
stands
Yasper.
out immediately. When you're kind of up in the brush or whatever. It's the difference is night and day, truly.
Right.
And then we also made explosions weaker, so that it wasn't as rewarding. Like now you need 2 shots, with the splash instead of the 1-shot splash, which was on pretty much everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So combined arms, yeah, it's definitely one of those things that the community likes to bring back up.
Mhm.
And hearing you talk about how it had good intentions, but maybe didn't quite hit the mark. Man, I get that. And that's a tough thing to do. And you've I think really
I don't have the time to do that. I'm doing
to live
important
with that.
stuff. All right.
Because
The only thing I have time
were
for
at
is to
the
log
front
in and see
of
if
the
anybody
team
has
when that
Titanic
was happening.
plans to
People,
craft
you
it
were
yet.
new to the team, and
Me and
people knew as a
Dopey have the
YouTuber,
material,
and
so keep your
you engage
fucking
with
ear to the
community,
ground,
and you, I think,
ready to pay
have
500
become,
gold
because people
crafting
know
fee.
you, they remember you, and you see your YouTube videos, kind of a lightning rod for that negative feedback.
Yeah, and it sucks not having like multiple people to talk to. So if it's always just coming out of my mouth, then it's like, there's some baggage that comes along with that. So it was good when like Nick would chime in, on
Yeah.
certain things, or when Roxy would chime in on
No,
some
I know the
community
guild
related
doesn't
stuff.
have it.
And
I mean,
yeah,
the
and it's nice to
faction
have
in
Andy
general.
now, and it's nice to have
Alliance
other
has
people who are willing to,
2.
like, share stuff. So it helps take some of the focus off. But at the same time, I feel like our relationship is probably much better nowadays too than it used to be. Because that was like I was back there during a time when the game wasn't it really wasn't doing so hot, and it didn't have a whole lot going for it either.
Same as now, by the way.
So
Yeah.
being able to turn that around was nice.
In your
You didn't turn it around. You didn't. It was all fake hype. You didn't fix any problems, and you're still doing the same stupid shit you were before. I know you think you turned it around, but you didn't. Not sure how you feel about my new facial hair. I'm not sure either.
You had a pretty great spirit to it.
Kind of like experimental.
Really,
I don't know.
If you go back and watch it, then you hear you talking as though it's like you just come out of a major
Smash
conflict
Mouth.
almost. Like you saw greener pastures ahead. You talked about how the dev team was doubling up to a unimaginable size of 6.
Right.
You talked about plans for then 2018, which was coming up, and you said that things were now in place.
Experimenting is for young adults. I am a young
adult. You could
adult.
talk about some of the things that happened leading up to that video that put you in that position. What was that team of 3 able to accomplish that moved the needle?
Good question. It was so long ago. Implants was definitely a big thing that we did. Like completely reversed the financial trajectory of the game, and also just made the system better because it sucked. And that continues to be like something that helps sustain us financially. So like that is.
I'm gonna fucking time out both of you, motherfucker.
It was really, really important. And in doing so, like because of like that system and some of the other stuff that we're doing, like we were able to hire on 3 people, and like one of which was a UI programmer, which we didn't have. Actually, well, one of the other UI programmers was helping us with the implants implementation, but that was on temporary loan.
Turned around the game, dude. Implants.
Yeah, and then we picked up another programmer. We picked up another designer.
I love you, huh? I don't love any women.
We're in good shape, at least, or so I thought.
Sure.
But,
women are terrorists, okay?
And then also the ramp up time. It's like.
But that also, for all you fucking weird boys, that doesn't mean the opposite, okay?
Like,
so fucking relax.
So the time it takes from the day someone comes on, joins the team, to the time that they're really independent and able to get things done efficiently.
That's correct.
Right. Makes sense. So for those who don't know, or who are listening to this and maybe don't know what Planet
I never snapped you in the first place.
There, implants are each character has 2 implant slots in PlanetSide, and the way you acquire implants is a bit varied. It's a little complicated. One of the systems is more complicated. One of the game's more complicated, I think, systems in some ways. You can work towards some implants with ISO, right? And I think that major iteration you're describing included the introduction of ISO, if I'm remembering that right.
Currencies, dude. We need more fucking currencies.
Certifications, and there's some way to exchange certifications for ISO. There's some currency trading, not directly, but that you can do there.
We need fucking 10 currencies.
But when you're buying an implant, you're not, unless you're using ISO, which is a slow to accumulate currency, which you can get for totally for free. Another way to get those is to buy them in what is essentially a loot box. And I'm sure that's
vehicles?
When you talk about the success that's where that came from.
Tanks?
Looking back at that system now, its success is hard to deny. There's a lot of talk going on in
You're never giving me Wind Fury ever again? Well, I mean, the shaman I had in my group for all of MC didn't get fucking Wind Fury.
With regards to implants specifically
wouldn't
with
be a
future
change.
monetization efforts?
I would say paying attention to it, yes. And if the time comes that we need to pivot in some way, I think we'll have to figure out a strategy for it. Because I mean it's a big deal. I mean, depending on who you talk to. I think that we kind of, our community was very accepting, like unusually accepting of implants and a loot crate model.
No, we didn't have a choice.
A lot of that came from the fact that the system was just so bad to begin with. Like we got rid of energy, which was like it was a mechanic to basically drain your wallet, or you don't get to perform it at peak capacity, and totally pivoted away from that. And it's just like, hey, now it's a progression system like everything else in the game. And so that's probably where a lot of that goodwill came from. But then also I was trying to be straight with people, like at every point where it's like yes, this is a monetization system. This is what we're putting into the game, and you'll be able to purchase these implants with your scummy loot box practices. So
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Right. Yeah. My opinion on loot boxes is kind of it's a little back and forth. I think ideally there's cosmetics, right? But I don't think that it does nearly as much for a game that because people are just willing to pay for power. But one of the goals that I had personally was to make it so like you don't have to suffer through the loot box system. You can just buy the implants outright, and that's when crafting came into to be. And I think that happened maybe a year or a little bit less.
Oh wow,
Somebody can correct me if I'm
I don't
wrong.
remember being that so far apart. Okay, so it was
Yeah, no,
pure
it was quite a while.
RNG for quite a while.
Hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, and even
Loot
now you can't
boxes,
buy
but you get
exceptionals without
in-game
changing the
advantages.
settings.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, he said
yeah,
he doesn't. He
That's
says
nice
you
to know.
shouldn't be able to
yeah,
buy
yeah.
power.
Just throwing that in
Okay,
there.
shut the fuck up.
And it's also making good on a promise that I made quite a while ago, where I definitely wanted it to come with Sanctuary, but it didn't make sense at the time. So
Sure. I'm really thrilled to hear that, Rel, because
yeah.
I think for people from the outside looking in, it's seeing how awesome Bastions are and seeing how cool Outfit Wars looks like. One of the things people will scan for right at the beginning is how much of this game is RNG, how much of this game is going to force me to waste my time. And even if the practical benefit you get from that RNG engagement is not that significant, or even if they really are edge case situations, just merely having that randomness, I think, is a risk for attracting new people, probably. I know a lot of my friends will look at that and say, oh, this is a loot box for power. I'm not even going to engage at all. So having a way to say, nope, loot boxes are optional is, I think, huge. And I'm relieved to hear that it's coming soon.
So I think it's kind of an interesting point of discussion, because I think that the loot box system is probably, I think it's obfuscated enough to where people won't say like immediately that something's pay to win, unless that's kind of the conception that they're.
Unless you launch it in a completely broken state and it's pay to win, which has happened multiple times in the history of the system.
Or the preconception that they're entering the game with
A
anyway.
bias.
Like people, yeah, because like you'll get killed by something and it's like, oh, this guy has better gear than me, and probably not the case, or it is, but it doesn't matter, so it's probably just like a deeply held opinion that they have based on their experience or their skill level or whatever it is. But then also like we have made efforts to like standardize the play space. At least with one loadout, like everybody has safeguard and everybody has target focus, which are both good implants for new players. Target focus I still use like on a bunch of stuff, and then we also like started giving packs out for alert wins and for directives and everything else. So we didn't make it inaccessible. And I think the people who kind of like the community members who are a part of like have experience in those systems, they're kind of like advocates for like hey, like this is probably the only like pseudo pay to win thing about the game, but it's not a big deal, and like that's kind of the place that you want to be for like you want the community to be at your back, regardless of what you're doing, and monetization practices.
They're knocking at your door with pitchforks. They're giving you a nudge and like, hey man, maybe take care of this.
All that he's saying is well and good. That's all well and good, except for when you don't playtest shit and you release implants that are obviously stupid to the game, and you have a method for buying them. Like what he says and what he actually does are two different things.
Right. Yeah. No, and that was definitely one of my goals, is to kind of like remove the even the argument for the pay to win element. Yeah. Like I don't think it's as big. Like I don't take it as seriously as other people. Like I know that other people will say like, hey, there's some RNG in this game, but sometimes like to me that feels good.
It goes back to the whole idea of grinding, which is the kind of the MMO spirit bubbling up from the earth of Arexis,
and it's funny how people don't they don't make that connection, because it's not. It doesn't tend to be like do this and then kind of like in the ranges of what you're going to get, and then you get the thing, and then do that over and over. It's more like because it is a currency interaction. I think it feels different.
That's true.
It feels more like gambling, or it feels more like.
Because it's usually so broken and stupid that it takes a massive community uprising and then it's nerfed within 3 days. So the people that already got it real quick, like this has happened fucking time. Well, the amount of time it's taken for them to change shit has altered over the history of the game, but essentially it always ends up the same in the end. You think the sort of people from the community they choose to listen to might be a problem? Oh.
Just like wasting money. I guess when you throw stuff in and then don't.
Imagine listening to shit players is bad for your game. Is Ikanem fixed? No. Ikanem, dude, you just don't even ask about Ikanem, because it is what they did to Ikanem is like, it's I don't even want to think about it. All right.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I think that's a really interesting take on that RNG aspect of it. And certainly, I mean, randomness is a part of any MMO. You look at anything. I don't know. Sometimes I think if PlanetSide had a dragon or two to kill, people would better understand
Right.
that part of
You
it
should,
because
dude.
it's not as much on the surface, is it?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean presentation is important.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So
What were we
continuing
talking
the
about?
story, continuing the story of Wrel,
You
the
always have to
epic,
bring me back.
the epic of Wrel. Oh no, this is the way I prefer to do this, man.
Okay, that's good.
I don't. I mean, you saw. I sent you a bunch of questions we might talk about, and we ping pong all around as I promised we would. My goal is to have a conversation, which I think we're doing. But this story is super important. I think. It's an interesting one, and you being in the position you are, people should know about it. After this video you published at the end of 2017, 5 years of PlanetSide, you said something very interesting at the end of it that I wrote out here. You signed off that video with a really passionate kind of speech about we're going to do this, we're going to do that, new player experience and outfits and all these great things. And then you kind of chuckled and said, unless management throws a monkey wrench at us.
Right.
So in 2018, did that happen?
Probably. I think it's happened at probably every turn that the game has had.
Okay.
Well, I think Pibby's the people that can answer your question. They no longer work on the game, so I don't think you'll get a reason for that.
Yeah, yeah. There was a lot of just the history in general is kind of tumultuous. So you can have the best intentions, but
Higby was
sometimes things
also
don't
an
work out.
idiot,
And
but he's not as big
wouldn't
an
say that it's
idiot
all,
as
like,
this guy.
entirely, management's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Wink, wink. But no, like a lot of it came down to just like sometimes you. One of the problems that I have, I think, is being too ambitious. So like,
True.
we have a really large scope, and then we have a really small team. So things take longer than they probably should.
People always want to give Higby a pass because he actually played the game and he was decent at it. He was a really like outgoing, sociable guy, but he did a lot of dumbass shit too.
And then there's always the roadblocks, which were unaccounted for at the time. And yeah, it was quite the learning experience. I've learned a lot in almost 4 years now.
Wow, 4 years, man.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be 4 years in October is when I officially.
Yeah, he definitely spoke like someone who was in the bathroom snorting lines for sure.
Came down here.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, that year of 2018. In my notes, I don't have a lot to say about it until the very end of it, when a very interesting pivot in PlanetSide happened, which was a round of layoffs, forever subscriptions, and the announcement of PlanetSide Arena. So,
yeah,
how did the announcement of PlanetSide Arena affect how you worked on PlanetSide 2?
Maybe one day I'll have a cocaine experience in Vegas. I've only ever been passed out in the sports book in
I
Vegas.
Think that there was a lot of
I've never had a drug
that,
experience in Vegas.
Come out of Arena.
Imagine it would be
there
fun.
Were some like intentions to like co-develop the games.
Hi Faber.
Side by side, and that like helped get us DX11. Like doing Arena was a good excuse for us to get DX11. And I say excuse because you need. So here's the thing. When it comes to creating like a successful game, a lot of that success is measured in financials. And like we as developers need to balance the needs of the community with the needs of the company and the needs of the game as well. And that means like the community needs to be like feel like energized and or placated or whatever. Company needs to have the chatter, and then the game needs to go where we want it to go. Like if we have a goal and a vision for where we want to take it. And a lot of times, well, I shouldn't say a lot of times, sometimes those things don't mesh up.
True.
And for us, like PlanetSide Arena, like we weren't making, I would say, like we definitely weren't making enough money to say like, yes, DX11, please do this. Your game has a bright shining future ahead. Go ahead. No, it was more like you guys are doing a good job over here. So like just do that. Like that was what our team was. So like whatever we could get from
PlanetSide 1 had good female hairstyles. Why no in PS2?
From Arena was like a good thing for us. And DX11 was a big part of that. Came over to the game. Unfortunately, just given the kind of the rigors of developing Arena, like we didn't have the support to like fix all the issues that came with DX11, and it left PlanetSide 2 in a really crappy state. And then leading up to that, just the development.
True.
Before that, there was like 6 months without good content for PlanetSide 2, and that was very detrimental to the game. And a lot of that was like kind of banking.
PlanetSide Arena would have been fine. It's just that they decided to make a battle royale game because no one at Daybreak Games took the temperature of the room, because the people that are in control over there are fucking stupid. So I think the game could have been fine, but it just wasn't the direction they took it was completely retarded, obviously.
Our development on like
Nobody
what was
wanted that.
happening with Arena.
The Battle
Like, there was,
Royale
like,
community didn't want
there
that
was a lot
game.
of, like, I
The
don't wanna get into
PlanetSide
it, but
community
there was a lot
definitely
of,
didn't want that game.
stuff happening on that project, completely separate from us, and where it probably like if I like know now what I wait, if I knew then what I know now, we probably would have went a different direction with PlanetSide 2, and like maybe not invested so heavily in these like specific like the specific things, the content that we're trying to do. I think NS or Black Ops, like we probably wouldn't
Right.
even have done it.
Because it's a complete and fucking waste of time and a retard trap for people who don't understand that if you want to play the lowest pop faction, make another character. Like, holy shit. Isn't the PS4 version running some super old version of PS2 or something? It actually just got patched for all the stuff that came out this year. I think it got patched yesterday or within the last 3 days. This week it got patched up to be generally mostly caught up to PC.
And then that was like the big hand wavy thing that came along with the DX11. So like those two things probably just would have went in a different direction, honestly. And then like when things were stabilized on the other team, like we could have then started to integrate it. But we were trying to like hit our beat to fix fix the trajectory of the game. But unfortunately, like just due to kind of this collision of factors, it just didn't play out that way. So and that happens. I mean, you take your you place your bets on what you think you should do, and sometimes those pay out and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
In your case, they never pay out, so probably need to do something
Yeah, it
different.
totally makes sense.
dude.
I think looking back at it, it's pretty easy to see.
That's what I
the
say,
connection between the two
Vonic.
games and
Like they didn't have
maybe,
construction for
how
years.
there was
They- yeah.
Well, I mean,
But then-
like
then
you
you're
said,
playing on
you have to develop
console.
a few patches out, and when there's a new game and you're sharing team members with that new game, there's expectations of success and honestly,
Didn't they have some contract? Because when this game first came out, it was under SOE, right? Didn't they have some obligation to port this game to PlayStation at some point? I feel like I've heard that before. Like they had some obligation to it, and it was just it came at a bad time, and the PC paid for it for sure. To get what? To get absolutely basically no return and just mostly negatives on a game that desperately needed time and energy focused on it during that time. That this shit was we were wasting time developing for the fucking console version. Didn't they start development on PS4 when it was Daybreak? I feel like it was like 2014, 2015, maybe more so 2015-ish.
just dollar signs that come with that, and when things don't go that way, and PlanetSide Arena, don't want to hash it out because I know you're not the guy, but it just did not seem to catch.
That's a good way to put it.
So, okay. I talked about a sequence of events at the end of 2018. I want to fast forward now to the end of 2019, where a few things happened, kind of in an order.
Between like, I think it was midway through 2014 and into 2015, the amount of fucking time and energy we lost on construction and PS4 being ported, or the game being ported to PS4 was like basically almost 2 years lost.
That I think seems connected, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. First thing is big round of layoffs in October. Next thing that happened is the announcement that PlanetSide Arena is shutting down. That was in December, I think. And then in January, Rogue Planet Games gets announced, and there's a big letter from Andy Seitz, and he teases out the magic word PlanetSide 3, which we don't talk about right now, but
or ever.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So that sounds like a history-laden statement to me.
No,
but
no.
Are these? Can you take us through those events at the end of that year? The events leading up to Rogue Planet happening. What was that like for you?
That was such a blur. Yeah. So Arena is going to do another thing, and then God, just the timing with like Apex Legends and everything else was
Yes.
yeah. It's
So for those who don't know, originally PlanetSide Arena
Are they really gonna blame it on Apex Legends, dude?
was set to debut at the end of January 2019. It was delayed to March, and then immediately after that announcement was made, Apex Legends just came out. A huge, incredibly well polished battle royale game, which is exactly what Arena was part of what Arena was trying to do. Um, and then things seemed to go back to the drawing board, and then eventually,
And they still fucked it up. They still did it wrong. They still made the wrong decision. They still released it as a battle royale after all this. God, they're so dumb.
like we said, they just didn't catch. But sorry, continue. Please continue.
Yeah, yeah. There's a whole lot encapsulated in there that I totally don't want to talk about.
Fair enough.
And it's not my place to do that. But the so see on our team, we're kind of just like trying to keep things going, like trying to resolve. Like I think honestly, fixing DX11 bugs took the vast majority of our time, like for a long amount of time.
Wow.
And then NSO too was just like it was a
NSO never should have been a thing, and they still haven't fixed the DX11
a lot of work to try to alleviate. Like it still has issues, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, you know, like trying to keep up some sort of content cadence, you know, like we're doing the summer stuff and just like events in general and
NSO is literally a retard check for how many fucking morons can we get to pay $15 a month to play the low pop faction. Like that's all. It's a fucking retard trap.
keeping all that going. But I think at the end of the day, like what it came down to is that in typical kind of like corporate fashion is like, you know, things needed to be cut somewhere, and then some decisions were made, and then, you know, surprise, layoffs happened. So for my team in particular,
The weekend of PlanetSide Arena capture the flag right before the shutdown was the most fun. Well, that's my point. Like, they didn't take the temperature of the room to know that nobody wanted a fucking PlanetSide Battle Royale game. Like, even I was someone who was interested in the Mass Clash version of that game, or that game mode. I was never going to be someone that was interested in Battle Royale, and there was a fuck ton of people that were just burned out of it. Even after they delayed it, like it was just a miss.
it was really
But it was a miss that was very, 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 very fucking foreseeable. And we told them, don't do this. Don't do it. Don't do it like this. Here's what you should do. No.
kind of heartbreaking.
They don't fucking listen.
Because we had survived.
They know
a
better.
fair amount of layoffs. I think, you know, maybe two.
Because they're such a successful company. They just shit out
you
failure
know,
after failure.
Kind of always looked at as like you know, you have such a small team and you're able to do so much, and you know, maybe the community will disagree, but if you go back and look at all the passion, it's like we did a lot, you know, over the years, and yeah, especially given our team size. And so as far as like, you know, net profit, we were doing like
and
doing
so
very well
doesn't hurt the
for a
game
long
and
period of
makes
time. And there
money.
was a
That's
slowdown
basically a positive. Yeah, it's a positive in the sense that if you can live in a world where doing NSO doesn't take up a lot of your time to do and doesn't add other problems, yeah, then you've got a point. But the fact that it does waste your fucking time when you're playing a game that has a lot of other fucking problems, like I don't really care about if it's a net positive. You wasted fucking time doing something that didn't help your game. It's impossible to revive a dead game. Yeah, that's true, especially if you don't even try.
The end of the year, and then, you know, how much of that factors in, I don't know. But yeah, so I end up losing Drew and Paul and Garrett too. So it's just oh, I'm sorry, no, it was no, it was Drew, Paul, Garrett, Nick, and it was just me and Zach left.
Wow.
And that was weird. So
yeah.
Okay. And yeah, I cried. I did. You know, people, especially around the office, I'm very kind of stoic most of the time, and I think my team at the time like totally like rarely ever see me eschew emotion. So yeah, so that happened.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's rough. So Wrel literally, and I'm not trying to make fun of you, but literally in tears. And then 3 months later, Rogue Planet Games is a thing. And your team is 10 times that size. How connect these things for me?
I mean, what it came down to is that there was a lot of more experienced
yeah, who were free because Arena shit to bed. It's like, what are we gonna do with all these people?
Well,
let's just put them on PlanetSide too.
It's not like so one of the things that I think is important is that you kind of hire for like experience and then skill, not necessarily like the job roles that you need at the time. I mean that's at least my
Hire the
mentality. And I think
person,
it was
not the job. That kind of idea.
yeah, I think that was Daybreak's mentality, kind of early on too. But yeah, like once it's like actually really difficult to hire, at least like especially on a game this old.
Mm.
So you know you have a whole bunch of people who still totally you want to hang around, and they get rolled into PlanetSide 2, and then we're like in the lab, just coming up with the next big thing, and Escalation was a culmination of like 5 months of work.
Ah, that was one of
So
my questions.
yeah, so
Huge
that was like
update.
yeah, we weren't Rogue
Huge
Planet
update,
Studios
guys.
publicly for quite a while, after the team got rolled into
Massive
PlanetSide 2.
hype.
So we were able, yeah, we were just like we're doing stuff, just lots of work and lots of discussions, and there was like a lot of
No, he's talking about how the hiring practices of the company were more so. They were more so looking for hiring the person, not necessarily hiring the person for the job. So, I mean, that eventually becomes a problem when you are not hiring people based on their merit for actually doing their fucking job, and you're hiring a person because they're a nice guy. I mean, I'm sure those people fucking had. Well, I don't fucking know because I don't know what resume Wrel had to get the job he has, but I would assume that most of these people had some kind of experience somewhere. Drew,
I don't know, just like a lot of new blood and excitement. I say new blood, but it's um, for me it was all new.
Well, it was new creative
So,
energy because you were bringing people who
yeah.
hadn't been working together on the same things to work on together on this thing called PlanetSide, and I respect that. So yeah,
That's
5 months to get Escalation out the door, which is Outfit Wars, the war asset system, the
Mhm.
Bastion.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen people. I like most PlanetSide players. I've always been getting my friends to try to play PlanetSide. And I think,
impossible.
well, and this is a conversation we can have. I heard you say something about the NPE sucking. I don't know. I think players are smart to some degree. I think they know if they're up for it. I think it's hard to tell why you die in PlanetSide sometimes, but it's kind of easy to tell what the game's about. And yeah, so I respect when my friends tell me they don't want to play it, and it's not because they just don't know what's good about it. It's because they can figure it out. At least that's my feeling about it.
I find that it's easier to introduce people to the game when you're not playing it with them, and I think that kind of, at least that's just my experience. And it kind of, I think it could probably be one of two things. It's like you have a person who likes to learn stuff by themselves, and it's just kind of better in that environment. Actually, no, that's probably the main thing. Forget where else I was going with this.
So
But, I think that
introduce
helps.
someone at a pace that's more newbie flavored as opposed to dragging someone along, kind of you as the grizzled veteran.
Yeah, well, I think that's part of it. Like, even if you try to dumb down the experience for them, it's unlikely. I think that they'll stay. Thank you, Madman. That is, sorry, I'm checking chat.
Big
That is,
man,
way
laying it down. Oh
that's way
shit,
better than that dumpster fire of the chat that you guys had going on.
hype. All right.
Yeah. Cool.
this
thank
guy
you.
just gives subs for this
Um,
shit.
Yeah. I just think that the game is kind of it's very particular. But like you have to be willing to take your knocks,
Mhm.
and that's part of the learning process. And people who don't learn that way or just get frustrated after dying, I think that they probably just they won't stick around. And hopefully we'll be able to kind of like there's a lot of information around there. Like, and who knows if a tutorial can even like really move things in the right direction.
I mean, but you see that he's in the chat sucking dick, Kuda. Don't you see that? He's the most annoying little nut hanger.
But we should have a tutorial.
Thanks
right?
for
I
the
think
sub
that's just,
waffle.
like,
Did my
fundamentally,
alert not
probably a
fucking
good
pop
idea
up?
at least to try. And actually, like we removed the tutorial as an experiment during.
You don't get
Escalation.
anything for subbing.
That's one where you get dropped
or-
into the
by the
hallway and you
way,
have to duck under the
you
thing.
get
and
you
then-
get my one
yeah,
emote,
Yeah, that it's just
and
like,
that's
here's
it.
how you move. It's like, okay, well, thank
and I
you,
get your money.
person. And then people who know how to move, they're just like seeing different blocks of text that they
There are
totally
no
don't
benefits.
hear or read or whatever.
You know what's
and
funny
it's
is half the time I do that tutorial, I get lost, and I
I
know how to play the
appreciate
game.
It's probably because it's broken. Like,
Oh yeah,
it's
cheeseburger money that I make so little of that
But
I
yeah, like so
I
hopefully
get
we
a
can,
Twitch check maybe
try
once
to move
every
to a right direction, but
Okay.
I think
4 or
that
5
tutorial needs to
months
be better.
maybe.
And then and I was getting to this before, but
So
we turned off the
I'll see your
tutorial as an
money
experiment,
in
and it did
like
reduce retention.
November
so like we know
or
it does
so.
something.
So
Okay.
thanks.
Probably doesn't do enough, but it is a good thing to have. So like if we can make a better one,
Yeah.
which is totally on the to-do list, and it's like a much
Someone
more real
gifted
part of the
50
to-do list than
subs.
it was. So
Jesus Christ,
so
dude.
hopefully
Yeah.
hopefully we get to that in about 8 years.
I've never seen this guy live.
Here's hoping for PlanetSide 2 in 2030. New player experience.
Yeah.
But okay, joking aside, so there's clearly a floor on how bad that tutorial can be, which you showed statistically, the escalation update. Is there a ceiling?
Sorry, how do you phrase it? Or...
I guess I have a sense that there's a ceiling on how effective a tutorial can be for a game like PlanetSide.
Oh yeah. No, I'd imagine.
I think it has a lot more to do with the person that's doing the tutorial. Like if you're like 60 IQ brain dead retard, like what this game attracts, having a tutorial doesn't help you play the game.
And it's hard to say what that ceiling is because we certainly haven't hit it. Would be my thought, just based on how objectively awful that tutorial was. But it's something that we could like we need to try to do it justice, and then like if we need to reel
Just
it back,
point
or
and
if we need
shoot.
to go a different direction, that's easier to do. Once you actually have the thing in its entirety, and it's something that you feel good about. I think the main points that you want to hit though with the tutorial is that you want the player to. So first off, you want to immerse the player into like what world they're going to be participating in,
Mhm.
but do so in such a way where it's like it's not like a Star Wars scrolling text or whatever and like explain it to you. Like you have to feel it, and it also has to be enjoyable to go through. Like it's like
Does anyone? I can't remember the last tutorial. I play a lot of games, right? I can't remember the last time I played a tutorial in a new game, and I was like, man, I'm really enjoying this. I really feel immersed in the fuck. I don't want to play the fucking tutorial. I just want to play the game. Am I the only person that feels like that anymore? Like, I don't want to learn how to fucking crouch and press X to fucking climb up on the box. Like, fuck off. Like, just let me play the game and figure this shit out. Like, I feel like if you don't go into the game with that attitude, like, what? I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
go to the bulletin board, look at all the jobs to make the money, to get the tickets. Nobody's gonna get that reference, but it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So new player experience. A lot of stuff that came in with escalation certainly supports this. Sanctuary. Sanctuary is a thing I'm really excited about. And from hearing,
Please elaborate. Why the fuck are you excited about this?
you guys and the team talk about it, I think you guys are too.
I would love for one person to explain to me why they're excited for Sanctuary and PlanetSide 2 without using a bunch of fucking word salad dog shit. If I can find one person that can do that for me, that would be the first person I found.
So right now it's very lackluster, and I think everybody who's played is kind of like it has it exists, but doesn't have a reason to yet. So with the next update, we definitely want to kind of incorporate that a fair amount and kind of make it part of the core loop. So like ideally players would log into to Sanctuary, but right now it doesn't make sense because there's no reason to log in.
So why? So you're just going to replace the warp gate that you log into with Sanctuary. What's the difference? Why couldn't you put shop vendors in the fucking warp gate? It's redundant.
Therefore, right? You're not.
And it's like eating time and development and resources. Like for what?
You're not like going there to level up, or you're not doing whatever it is that
You need town functions,
engrams or whatever.
essentially.
Yeah.
The realistic thing about it here is Destiny 2 has a social hub. I'm sure Warframe has a social hub. World of Warcraft has a social hub. All these other fucking games have a social hub. We have no ideas on how to progress our game, so let's add a fucking social hub.
Like an
That's
MMO.
that's really it.
Exactly. So that's at least in some part of the next update. And then they go in there and they get their missions or whatever, and then you go to the battlefield and you do stuff, and you have your core shooting man's experience, and then when you leave, before you log off for the night, you go back. Like that should be the loop. It's like a
quest hub.
Can't remember.
It's your
Can't remember the name
Stormwind
for it.
City.
It's
But
like
yeah,
a
that's the
like
core
a
loop.
pacing thing.
Right. Yeah.
I don't need pacing in my fucking FPS game. I don't need time out of the action. It's like playing Battlefield 5 with attrition, and I need well-regulated, structured time out of the action to go back to a fucking box and pick up ammo and med packs so I can heal myself. Like, enough with this shit.
And this game in general has
just let me play the fucking game.
Kind of fast, but I think it's only gotten faster over time. And honestly, like some of the slower,
like who are these fucking mouth-breathing droolers that need to have like some fucking regimented loop of shit that they have to do on a fucking checklist every time they log in to play the game, dude? I fucking hate casual gamers, man. They ruin fucking video games.
Helps people become acclimated with the environment. So like
and this is a perfect fucking example of a game that literally doesn't need anything like this, but we're getting it.
And you can kind of just like roam around and do stuff that isn't necessarily combat related. It's good for learning. And I think that people don't tend to admit that that you can't just get good. Like it's not something that
you
that
can't just get good, guys.
Heard from other shooters necessarily, but it is something that like it takes observation, and people learn at different rates too. So and in different ways.
That's a serious gaming attitude. You can't just improve. Impossible.
Some people are content to just get trashed on. Some people need to see what's happening, and then like go through the process. And a lot of times, like the reason that, or one of the reasons that new players like gravitate toward the infiltrator class is because they know that they can be safe.
Why would you do that, dude?
Too, so that both are.
Don't disparage DG, okay? He's a nice man.
That's in the open field where they totally, maybe shouldn't be, or you don't expect them to be. Like that's like a great thing for new players, and so those forms of gameplay are important, and we want to make sure that there's like these proper exit points and just areas of rest, when people are kind of going through this experience, and you maybe don't need to, but for like the veterans, but for everybody else, like it's important.
I like it for veterans too. I mean, I'm an old school. I'm not sure if playing Vanilla WoW is an old school MMO player, but
close enough.
I mean, I did the MMO thing.
These days,
so my gaming resume basically starts in around 2000 with a game called Team Fortress Classic. Mod for Half-Life 1. I played in a community-organized competitive scene for it. It's a shooter game, class-based, capture the flag, etc. Kind of some of the same DNA to a game that I know you have some history with Tribes 2.
God, how could we forget, dude?
I basically, after the clan that I ran for 3 years died, I moved to playing World of Warcraft, and that sucked me in for a few years. And
I bet he plays a fucking Tauren with show helmet.
In that game, I had the great pleasure of running a 40-man raid guild for a while, which was equal parts awful and great.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's difficult.
Yeah, it was quite an undertaking. But when you're engaged in a game like that, you're not always slaying trolls or slaying dragons, especially if you're running a raid. You are spending a lot of time organizing people, talking to people, and it's not just like I have to find people to run a dungeon with kind of thing. It's like you're actually kind of networking. I think like the thing that describes an MMO quality to me is that the game is bigger than the mechanics. Like there's a world within this executable.
The PlanetSide is not. Yes, they're trying to justify adding this shit in because they are appealing to a gameplay loop of 25 and 20-year-old fucking MMORPGs and trying to convince you of why it needs to be in this game
that you can access when you load it up. And when I see
that's my problem, Travis, is the casual fucking gaming community is so vocal about being casual. Like they will shove down your fucking face. You know that meme of that fucking kid who's sitting in the classroom like shitting himself, like whatever. Like they usually like if someone what is it? How do you know if I can't think of what it is. There's so fucking many of them, dude. But it's that's a casual gamer trying to tell someone that they're casual. But also at the same fucking time, get this, they want their opinions and all that shit to be equal or better than everyone else's. So not only you get the best of both worlds, you never have to play the game, you don't have to know shit about the game, but you also get the biggest say. You get to have your fucking cake and eat it too. Yeah, that fucking little kid with the blonde curly hair, that's a fucking casual gamer if he hasn't told anyone
like Sanctuary
his gameplay balance
I see that
decisions
world take shape.
Or design ideas in the last 5 seconds. Yeah, that guy.
To take shape. That quality is something I love to see come more into PlanetSide. And also, on Another thing I was super, super happy about, and I've said this before, but Outfit Wars, which you can pick it apart and talk about.
Does anyone give a fuck about Outfit Wars anymore? Like, honestly, it's July 31st. Does anybody give a fuck about Outfit Wars anymore? Like, who fucking cares, dude?
What it is specifically, but not at the non-specific level, at the highest level, it gives communities a reason to pull towards something.
Yeah.
And
Whatever happened to just playing the fucking game? You know, why? Whatever happened to just logging in and playing the game? Why do you have to have a fucking schedule if the game telling you what to do, and you have to have all this?
Sure, it's
like you say you want it to be a sandbox, and you always go to that excuse, but then you have to have like this regimented gameplay loop that people like Wrel say that you need, and we're gonna give it to you.
intentionally sized for midfits. Well, I should take that back. I'm not sure, but it seems logical to me. And we can talk about the impact of outfit and new player interactions, right? But to me, as an outsider, it seems what I tell anyone who wants to get into PlanetSide, whether they're going to play with me or not, is find an outfit that is not enormous and just play with them.
Mm-hmm.
That social component of it seems really critical to me, and I've been going off for a little while. So either I've lost you or you really agree with me.
No, I do agree with you, because statistically, we found that like the players tend to stick around more once they're in out.
This is the only telemetry and statistics that he will ever release, is that players stick around more when they get to an outfit. Like, there's so much more that I would be interested in seeing.
The retention goes up. So, and that was kind of the impetus for, or one of the goals rather, for the escalation update, is that instead of outfits being like a glorified friends list, let's try to give them an objective so that they can interact more with their, with their little social bubbles or whatever, and then also so that like new players would have more of a reason, I guess.
If it was a big middle finger to midfits, I mean, I agree completely. Like, how are you going to release a system that everybody obviously knows it's going to cater to the largest outfits? If you're designing a system, or if you're implementing a system into the game that rewards people for capping territory, let me think. If I have any experience with the game and I log in and play every day, who fucking could possibly capture the most territory in a day? If I'm thinking back to my playtime. Oh yeah, it's fucking Zerg fits. It's people who Zerg down a lattice line all fucking day and night, right? Like, the fact that the developer doesn't understand this very, very basic thing it's a huge red flag. And yes, fuck midfits.
New players and that sort of thing. Then as far as end game goals was kind of what
it made the game unplayable.
An objective, at least, is to give everybody, again, something to strive for. Maybe it doesn't appeal to everybody, but that's kind of the point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't speak for everybody, but I, in my dotage, have become this kind of a player who likes to engage in big community games that have aspirational content.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say aspirational, I mean stuff that's hard, that not everyone gets to do. I remember...
Okay, then don't play PlanetSide 2.
Back in I want to say early 2015, late 2014, when the Farmers League was a thing, which was a community-organized, competitive 6 versus 6 PlanetSide Infantry League. Shout out to PIL, by the way. You guys are doing awesome work this year. Fantastic event.
He said Farmers League,
but
dude.
When I was back in the day, watching the Farmers League inspired me to log on every day and play.
Do you hear that? I inspired somebody to log in and play. Isn't that crazy?
It inspired me. It called me forth to become a better player, to engage. For a certain kind of player, I think, having that aspirational content paints a picture of a world where there's room to grow into it. And it's
positively affecting people's gaming lives, dude.
Warcraft or whatever.
Since
you're
2015.
making a bond of trust with the player. Because it takes an enormous amount of hours to get the most out of these games.
Yeah, who the fuck is saying Outfit Wars inspired me with the fucking shitty ass observer cam? Like, at least with farmers and the smaller events, like, the observer cam can actually kind of fucking catch some of the action, but the fucking observer cam and these stupid ass giant cluster fucks are just like, If you're the type of person that's inspired by that, like you'll fit right in this game because you're just gonna get the living fuck farmed out of you.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, and you just got to think about the fact that it is an MMO. Like you are going to come across these same players, repeatedly. So you're probably going to at least know them by like notoriety,
Yeah.
or maybe like the reputation is positive one, or maybe like you squad up with these
Absolutely.
people and you want to squad up again. Like those are all good things to have. Like the game should be. Well, actually, I think if anything, that's kind of what defines an MMO. Is
And it's such a shame that the developer like just squandered so many years of this shit because this shit like the fucking small format infantry stuff carried on. It still goes to this day. And I think just recently they're starting to actually acknowledge that it fucking exists again. Like these fucking losers just ignored everything about it. Like the closest thing we ever got was Higby was like the third fucking caster on one of our matches. Like I think it was us against DA. No, it was us. I don't fucking remember which one. I think it was us versus DA. And he was like the third caster, but that was like the height of it. Like, and then since then, the only acknowledgement that you get is, here's some Jaeger accounts. Here's a fucking OBS tool. Okay, whatever, fuck off. Like, they don't care.
yeah, you put it perfectly. Like the game is bigger than its mechanics.
Right. Yeah, there's a guy who plays on Emerald, who all of y'all probably know. And he reminds me of, those of you who play World of Warcraft, you probably know this archetype. The Orc Warlock who hangs out in Stranglethorn Vale and ganks newbies. You know what I'm talking about? If you don't know, you can probably imagine. Stranglethorn Vale is a unique zone in World of Warcraft where
Is this guy talking about me?
both sides of the game, the enemy factions, really collide for the first time. If you're playing on a PvP server, you're going to die a lot on your way to killing trolls or getting warthog intestines or whatever you're there to do. And when I started playing PlanSide again last year, in the summer of 2019, after the DX11 update, which, by the way, brought me back in. So,
Good.
yeah, it was huge.
Good.
And I think I gave it enough time so I didn't necessarily have to work through all the kinks with everybody. But
Yeah,
I came back in,
Yeah, it might be
and I decided, I've been playing on Connery the whole time because I'm on the West Coast. I'm going to roll on Emerald and see what the Emerald culture is like. And they ran up against who, to me, the Stranglethorn or ganking Warlock of that server was, which is Zonic.
Oh,
And
really?
Oh, nobody cares about Zonic anymore, dude. Get the fuck out of here. Zonic is a AFK bot.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
He hopped factions, and when I was just getting back into the game and was not
Like, Zonic is the literal PS2 AI. Like, he's part of the source code now. Like, he's not a person.
any good, I measured myself against him. He was a piece of aspirational content for me. Like,
A piece of ass.
I want to kill Zonic. I gotta get him. And
Stream
in a play
sniping.
session, I might see him like 7 or 8 times. If I could get him once, I was like, yeah. And then the next week, I'm like, I'm gonna get him 25% of the time. And over time,
And then so I pulled a shotgun.
that kind of grows. It's a self-directed goal, or at least
Yeah,
that was
intrinsic motivation. Yeah.
right. And I don't know. I
How many people have I intrinsically motivated? I feel like a
think
lot.
maybe there's some overlap with that kind of entrepreneurial spirit you described.
I feel like if someone sees me at a fight, like everybody wants to kill me, dude.
But I think that PlanetSide's a great game for people who have that. And the more
I mean, it's easy for them too because this stupid ass fucking bounty system where if you kill fucking 4 mongoloids in a row, you're permanently spotted on the map. I mean, that's a cool feature.
kinds of tent poles you can put up to give people room to create those things, the better it gets. And, Bastions, Colossi, Outfit Wars,
Yeah.
all this stuff,
Colossal.
it's those beats, I think.
So I want to share a fear with you.
Okay.
So we're working toward this.
They don't
expansion
auto
system,
spot
campaigns, that
anymore?
sort of thing.
Wow. It's because I
but I feel
complained
like-
about it.
And this is how I felt about directives too. And directives have obviously they've done a lot of good for the game in that they kind of incentivizes people to like
The directive system needs to be completely redone.
keep playing. Anytime we throw a new directive in, like we know that there's a certain amount of players that are just going to pursue it. Doesn't even matter.
There are so many legacy fucking directives that are just make no like. Just look at the heavy assault. Just look at the heavy assault tree. Like it's the stupidest fucking directive line ever. It's just fix it.
The reward is.
Mhm.
But I feel like there's probably a balance somewhere where if the game becomes too focused on progression to the point where it's I don't even know where
That you're fucking turning the game into something else intentionally? Is that what you're trying to say, Rel? That you might be going too far there, bud?
where the definition kind of is. But there's a certain point where where the game probably like feels like progression, and then because of that, the intrinsic motivation kind of goes away. The willingness to create those personal goals kind of gets pushed to the side, so that you can get the shiny stuff. And I hope that with our new system we don't hit that. I think that a lot of well, I guess I shouldn't say a lot of.
Stop pushing it that way, man. Like, you're the lead game designer. Like, why do you fucking pontificate about shit like it's just a matter of chance? Like, stop it.
Games like many games have daily challenges and that sort of thing. So one of the kind of the changes to the system, is a different take on it, with the new mission system, is that I want players to be able to look at the list of randomly generated missions that they get. Or I'm sorry, to be clear, like we don't have the tech for that. It's not randomly generated. It's like there's a list of missions.
Randomly selected.
Randomly selected. That's better.
Got
yeah,
it.
better put. So we man, randomly generated missions would be
Careful.
great. So you'll be able to see down the list and you'll say like, okay, I want to do this, and this is the reward that it offers, and you kind of like have that internal conversation with yourself, and hopefully it's not like I want to slog through the worst possible garbage, so that like even though I don't play it, just so that I can get the best rewards. Like that's what I hope we don't get, and hopefully.
Well, logging into the game is slogging through the worst possible garbage to get the rewards that I want. I mean, you've already lost. You've already
by
failed
virtue of the system,
goal.
We're able to give people options, and then also kind of create the missions in such a way that it creates like conflicts with players. Like there's definitely some experimentation with that, where like,
why do you need a system to generate conflict between players in a fucking 3-faction open world shooter game? What, am I missing something? Like, did I fucking fall asleep for 5 years? And I'm just missing a core part of the game. Like, there's no incentive to fucking shoot other people in it.
Like something will for like a mining drill will start on a continent or something like that, and then much like local events in like a Destiny or a Guild Wars 2, or Warhammer Age of Reckoning, for anybody who played that. You'll have like kind of this zone, and then people who are participating in that particular mission can go and like fight against one another and that sort of thing. So we want to create different points of contention, as well as create like lower paced gameplay where it's just like, oh well, I suck at killing people, so instead maybe I'll just do this courier mission.
I'm getting a drink. I'll be right back. I'm gonna rewind this.
Against one another and that sort of thing. So we want to create different points of contention, as well as create like lower paced gameplay where it's just like, oh well, I suck at killing people, so instead maybe I'll just do this courier mission.
Any courier mission gamers in the chat?
And basically give you like session-based goals that are kind of interconnected with the world as a whole, so that when you log in, like there's more direction to your session, and it gives you something personal to do.
Like, do you hear all this shit? This is like this fucking California soy boy, brain dead, just fucking loser game dev bullshit speak. Like, do you hear this shit, man? Like, what is this fucking moron saying?
I do think that maybe that's going to conflict.
You're a
starting
soy
out with
boy,
some of the squad
Liddy.
play stuff, but we'll see how it goes. And we definitely would want there to be like squad outfit-based missions and that sort of thing. And again,
like, what the fuck are you saying?
Like hopefully people are fighting like over the world, so like everything doesn't boil down to just like, okay, here's the lattice and this is the base that you're going to be fighting at for the next half hour. Hopefully it's like fighting around it and like doing other things that kind of manipulate the battlefield. Yeah, that's the goal at least.
So the fear?
The fear is that I hope that we don't tip the scales to where it becomes this this gear grind. That's one of the
like why, like it fucking boggles my mind that this, how could this even be a fucking coherent thought from the lead game designer of the FPS game that I'm playing. Like, I'm so lost. Like, when my lead game designer of a first-person shooter game that literally has nothing to do with gear says, I hope we don't tip the scale too far in making it into a gear grind. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
things that I don't like. I've never felt drawn to it personally. Like, there's still a lot of stuff that I haven't unlocked, but I just kind of play the game to play the game. Even directives,
what a fucking novel
I don't
concept.
particularly pursue them, and I don't know if that's more just because of my archetype. Like, I'm not a collector, or like
Do you know your Bartle type?
Like, but why do we need to shoehorn that into a game that it doesn't have the space for that? Like, why? Why shove the fucking square peg into the round hole? Just to say because we can?
Primarily, and like kind of sub.
Oh, you know why I think it? Why I really think it is because these people are fucking idiots when it comes to FPS games, and they have no fucking idea how to deal with anything FPS related. So since they don't know anything about that, they're just gonna pivot and go down this road because they like all the stuff that's wrong with the game FPS wise. Fuck it, we don't know what to do.
Maybe Achiever, maybe, but like.
So, Bartle typing for everyone out there.
That's my theory.
That this guy who worked on multi-user dungeon games, old school.
And you can cover that up, you not knowing how to do shit when it comes to FPS games, by appealing to some. We're gonna have a lot greater depth in our game if we turn it into like a fucking gear. Like, what are we gonna have? Fucking like trade skills, like blacksmithing and shit. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
Back to MMORPGs.
I love me some buds.
Came up to.
That's why I learned how to type. Sorry, I keep interrupting.
Oh, there's a story.
Yeah,
that's a good motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the Bartle typing is a way that this guy, Dr. Joseph Bartle, came up with to say, here's what I think draws people to play this game, and here's the kinds of people you can draw in with different ways. And there are two axes. So there's the world, and there's players, and there's acting versus.
Or maybe it's because we can't get FPS players to play this game, so now we have to like open up and be open for business for all these other fucking morons just so we can get a population. Like, is that what's going on? Like, I don't know.
Is interacting. Okay. So if you like acting on players, you're a killer. You like imposing your will on other people. If you like interacting with players,
press
you're
1 if you're a killer in the chat.
Is my number one. If you like acting on the world, you're an achiever, which means you really like getting stuff done. You probably love directives. And if you like interacting with the world, then you're an explorer, and you probably are looking heavily into this Esamir anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
So, you said you're tilted towards killer. Sounds like you're tilted away from achiever.
Are they trying to bring RPG stuff into the game? Yes.
Not explore. Actually, maybe a little bit, but yeah, primarily killer for sure.
Sure. Yeah, I think
you're not. Wrel is definitely not a killer. Wrel likes to drive around. If you've ever watched Wrel stream, He gets in a flash and he does like ramps and shit. Wrel interacts with the world. He's not a killer.
For me, it was Socializer, like Socializer and Killer, Socializer and Achiever, like completely diametrically, like 100% and 0. And then near the middle, I'm about the same on Exploring and Explorer Killer. But yeah, I get then you and I both don't necessarily we're not driven by extrinsic goals as much, and I understand how you would feel, like you said, fearful of putting in too much.
Yeah, killer. Hearing this guy say killers, it feels kind of weird, right? Like it's kind of harsh. Like it's very like
extrinsic.
It made me uncomfortable too,
and
dude.
PlanetSide is a sandbox-oriented game. I get that. It's a different kind of reward to put in a job for someone to do to get a thing versus to put a Bastion in the game and say, here's a new toy, go make some stories with it.
Well, that's the point. Is they have to take a video game and they have to do they have to turn it into a job so these fucking ADHD mouth breathers find some enjoyment out of it and they will play the game.
Yeah. No, and that's like a toy is honestly a good way to put it, because like you are in the sandbox. Like in if we just give you the tools, like you can kind of manipulate the world and honestly like all the players and then that sandbox is kind of what creates all those stories and those experiences and makes the game what it is. So
more fucking word salad, man.
Definitely don't want to get too far away from that. I feel like that's kind of the core of what we have, the core of what makes PlanetSide special. And to the progression end, I feel like
I'll tell you right now what makes PlanetSide special. It's a Battlefield game with no team limits. Team size limits. That's period. That's what makes the game special. That's it.
I feel like a lot of stuff is so accessible once you have like this just like minimum amount of time spent in the game.
Like can we build off of that?
That the rest of it kind of falls away. Yeah.
Because really,
DG, he's the only
progress through, which
interviewer of these type of people that is not
in a pretty good spot to be useful.
Completely
I think maybe one of the
retarded.
There is the vehicle game, which requires a bigger initial investment.
It's wide ranging.
But yeah, I don't know what the right answer is on that. I'm curious what Chad thinks. I recognize that you don't want to like the classic. I think push pulls between sandbox and theme park, right? Where people who want a theme park game want to go on rides, and that's the complete extrinsic motivation, and there's not as much player agency involved.
So play single player game.
And people who want a sandbox, people who want to make their own.
They make those games still, by the way, people. Those kind of games, they still make them. Some of them are good.
Own content.
Let's
basically.
not make games that are not that and turn it into that.
There's a compromise there that's best. But I'm really curious about, I guess, it sounds like what you think is that generally the more player agency type stuff is more interesting to you.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think that I mean, there's boundaries. I think a lot of kind of what we learned over time, just as a development team, is that the path of least resistance will always be taken, and to the game's detriment. Like the players really don't like this thing, but they keep doing it over and over and over. And just
given a chance, players will optimize the fun out of a game.
Exactly.
That's the saying.
Yeah,
I can't remember who said it, but
yeah, and a lot of times you just got to save them for themselves. It's,
and you have to be
really
careful.
Interesting paradigm.
I mean, I've heard complaints from some people about having to hop into a max suit to practically get the summer directive done that's going on in the live game right now.
It's like you don't need to do it, actually, the directive.
Yeah,
but they're shit at the game, so they have to be in a max to do anything. So of course they
but people don't think that way, right? They're like, oh, this is limited time, and that's like we are putting this in the game, and making it limited time so that you play the game, right? Hopefully there's enough options there where you like don't necessarily have to do the one that you don't like, but I think there's that. So like, I got to do it because it's telling me that I have to do it, or it's like I really want to do it and I want to do it quickly. And then some things, like when you look at the directives, they weren't originally intended to be just like ground out. Like it was like, oh, you do this, and then over the course of a year, you're going to get this fun thing at the end. Well, people don't think that way though.
Yeah.
They it's like an instant gratification thing, or it's just, and then they'll complain this directive takes too long to do. It's like, well, that's not the point.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
with any kind of game, it's impossible to meet the demands of the most active players, right?
Hmm.
Um, uh,
I don't know, dude.
you know, there are a lot of slayers that I have played with and associated with, and you see people talking about araxiaming. Oh my god, that's hard to say. A weapon in like 1 day, and there's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Because the Araxium number that you need to kill is very low. Like, how come they haven't ever like added something beyond Araxium, like 1160 or whatever? How come there was never any more tiers above that? Or it's like it's such a fucking weird, like, arbitrary number that just doesn't tell you anything. Like, I never understood that.
this come this day, this come the next day, and it's like
That seems like such a fucking, like, that seems like such a fucking low-hanging fruit thing for, like, these people that just want to go out of their way to, like, be autistic and grind, like, one gun. Is just have these progressive tiers. Like, why does it stop at Araxium? Like, I don't get it.
oh my god, like
Yeah.
there are people who can really kill fast, but even if you're killing fast, that's a big job.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and
How do
what's
you?
kind of interesting is that it comes at the detriment of all the other players too, because you're looking for the most like optimal way to grind these skills out, and you're just like inflicting the most insufferable experience on the people who are on the receiving
Yeah, but that
end of it.
it's insufferable and quick. The methods that he's talking about are in the game because he doesn't do anything to address anything in the game that is like that. So he's literally telling you that the way that people play and the things that they use are fucking miserable to play against, but he's like making a joke out of it. Like,
And a lot of times, just because of how the game plays out,
Mhm.
like they don't know any better to like leave or like how to counter you, or just like how to take matters into their own hands. And yeah, we create a lot of opportunities where we let players kind of ruin the fun of other players, and that is not an easy problem to solve.
How do you approach it?
you don't do anything.
One
You can be my
goal at a
wingman
time, I
anytime.
guess. Like Combined Arms was like an attempt at that.
Bullshit.
And
Thank you,
obviously
Vert.
it didn't turn out
You
the way
can
that
be
we
mine.
had envisioned
Hope
it
you
to.
enjoyed your boomer session of Apex Legends with terrible PlanetSide players attempting to play other FPS games. I hope it went well for you, sir.
So it's just like it's poking and kind of yeah, like we're within a box right now, and you need to kind of like figure out the boundaries of it and kind of like see how much flex it has. And sometimes you put something in and then see if players can eventually like acclimate to it,
Mhm.
because that it'll be better in the long run, even if they're complaining about it in the short term.
Like what?
And then sometimes you think you're doing that, and it's not quite there. But I think one thing to keep in mind is just that like this is kind of uncharted territory as far as a game like this goes. Like there's been
Yeah.
other massively multiplayer.
Yeah, who do you learn
FPS,
from?
but
Are there any games out there
I-
that you can take cues from?
It's
He steals from everything. What are you talking about?
yeah, I mean, a lot of the lessons come from things that aren't necessarily like in our domain. So like,
Mhm.
just watching Destiny 2's history and kind of playing through it, it's interesting to see like the stuff that they put in the game and kind of like tried.
Well, I mean, in our cast, like, you can't go in. You can't really go into these types of interactions between like this guy and Wrel and think that there's. It's just they're gonna be just fucking blowing each other through the whole thing. Like everything he says he's gonna agree with. Like there's not gonna be any pushback on anything. Like it's they're never like that. So if you go into that with that expectation, like it's gonna be hard to watch.
And then
But that's why I'm here.
them have to like reel it back and
Kev
integrate it in
Looney.
a different way. And just a lot of the
Kev
changes that
Looney
they've
got
made.
coronavirus,
Like
everyone.
they're kind of
Make sure you stay
don't wanna
6
say
feet away from her.
parallel, but they're figuring out all of the problems that we currently have, just because they're trying to make their like game as a service, right? So they put out seasonal or seasons rather,
Mhm.
And they bring in like different events to like change up the gameplay. Like they've revamped like the armor system to increase longevity, and like also make use of all of the resources that they had in the game that you kind of just like didn't need after a while. So they've done just like a lot of changes to mold the game, and there's some stuff that's just like fell flat, and they had to learn from it and like figure it out and kind of like reincorporate it in a different way. So just viewing the lessons of a game like that is really interesting to me, because I think that a lot of games now are, if they're not going through these issues currently, like they will be, because I think that games as a service is probably going to outlast just like kind of well, I shouldn't say that.
I think most games as a service have You have the obvious examples of games as a live service that have fucking completely failed at that, like Battlefield 5. And then, what would be another example of a game that is like a service, besides the ones he's talking about? I don't think that they have learned anything. Like, that's the point of the...
There will always be...
They don't learn anything. Like, look at Firestorm. Like, look at just this year. And for all of you people that thought, like, it was going to be a big difference between Daybreak and RPG or whatever the fuck it is, like, nothing's different. Like, nothing has changed. I don't know why the fuck y'all keep pretending that it's a totally different fucking environment. But everything that they fucked up on before and all the mistakes they made before, they're doing the exact same thing again. Like, Andy is a little bit more transparent on fucking Twitter, but it's the same shit, man. Like,
place for both, but I think the games as a service will become more popular. I mean, it's already become more
There's a
popular.
high demand for it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also easier. Like, once you create when you gain a following, it's easier to retain that following than it is to make a new title and kind of...
Yeah, but you can't gain any more following because this, believe it or not, like, this game is super, like, PlanetSide is super niche game. I don't know what else to say. Maybe it's because of the way it's been handled. Maybe it's because of the people that it attracts. But the days of this game having mass fucking appeal were gone long ago, and they're not coming back. So I would be very careful for Wrel here, thinking that if he turns this game into like some kind of weird live service game, that somehow that's gonna fucking appeal to people.
Or roll the dice. You've seen we've seen games that are good, like by traditional standards, that just, like, they have a spike, people have an interest, and then it just dies after that. Or isn't given like enough of a shot to succeed. Like Lawbreakers is a good example that, conceptually, like, very smart, art-wise, very well done. Like, there's a whole lot going on for that game, and the people behind it very experienced. But eventually it just died. Like, and
it didn't just die, it had a bunch of stupid shit. Fuck, like, don't do that. Like, this is what he's gonna do. He's just gonna fucking pretend like it just died, man. Well, shit, like, games die because of, mainly nowadays, from dumbass fucking decisions from people like this guy. No fucking accountability. None. We just pretend like, oh, I don't know what happened to that game. It just, nobody fucking knows. It just died. I don't know.
it died very quickly too.
Yes.
And it's like, if a game like that doesn't stand a chance in this industry, like,
It's not, it doesn't stand a chance. It's that morons like you don't give it a fucking chance because you decide to do the things you do with a game that could be successful. Like, look at fucking H1Z1. A license to print money ruined by fucking retards like Wrel. Like, there's no other way to put it. But when you sit here and pretend that, like, nobody knows why it died, guys. Like, it's just fucking bullshit.
To me, it represents like a shift of a way of doing things that we're still trying to, like, figure.
How about the way of doing things is you make fucking well-informed decisions based on fucking smart community feedback, and you don't just shove whatever the fuck you want down their throat because you think you know better. How about that?
Route. Like, there's a reason that Destiny
Can we
isn't
go
going
to
for
that
Destiny
route?
3 right now. At least to my knowledge, they're like, making Destiny 2 better.
Why is that, do you think?
I just, because of the reason that I mentioned, which is, like, it's hard to create a new game. But then, I mean, like, I guess,
Not if it's good.
like, if anything, Destiny would probably have a decent calling for it. But, like, even Destiny 2, people...
Believe it or not, there's a demand for fucking good games out there. And most of that demand is made because of guys like this who continue to work and make shit games. So, to believe it or not, there is a demand for good games out there. And people play them and buy them and continue to play them.
Said, why didn't you create Destiny 1 and, like, build all these features in Destiny 2? Because Destiny 2 is very similar in a lot of ways.
Very rough transition to the Destiny community.
Yeah. And it's, I feel like not that I want to get into a PlanetSide 3 conversation here, but I feel like there would be some similar challenges, right? Where you can kind of, I think everybody's kind of chomping at the bit for a PlanetSide 3, but I think the reason for it is because this game is so broken that there's a lot that you could change.
That's the main fucking reason. A PlanetSide 3 lets you start over from scratch and attempt to address the shit that you won't address here. That's why he can't be on it. But at least he knows. He knows.
Like, on the...
How long do you think I would last as a lead designer? I would never fucking want to be the
On the
lead
ground
designer. I
floor.
would never want to work with these fucking morons,
But
man.
then you'll have the other audiences, just like,
Why would I ever want to work in that fucking industry?
you know, you could
Like, you work with all these pussy-ass beta males who, if you say one thing to them, they just fucking break down and shut down. Like, everybody thinks they're the smartest fucking person in the room when they're fucking retards. Like, why would I ever want to work with someone like this?
just make the
I
game
would
better. And
never.
that's, you know, what we're continuing to do is make the game
I
better.
mean, I'm sure all of them are really cool, nice guys. You can have a fucking barbecue at the goddamn fucking house in the summertime. Well, I mean, it's always fucking summertime in Southern California, but I'm sure they're nice guys to hang out with and they're cool people in real life for the most part. But when it comes to working with people like this, absolutely not. Fuck these people.
Better. Not that there will never be a new project, but now certainly wouldn't be the time for it.
Do you think that?
Development?
Yeah,
Just to be clear.
interesting. Do you think that games as a service can ever generate the kinds of? I mean, I guess the one I really agree with what you're saying, and what I'm thinking about is the problem of how to convince people who have seen the game before to give it another chance again in the future.
World of Warcraft. Just look at fucking World of Warcraft. Like, you don't have to look very far. Easy. Games as a service, you have a subscription model. You get fucking expansions every, whatever it is, year and a half, 2 years. Like, it's exactly what he just said. People have played the game before, but they'll come back and play for new expansion, new content. I'm sure Wrel will talk about new content and stuff. It's really not that difficult.
Like you mentioned another game that I played quite a lot of, just Guild Wars 2, which has this problem. Where a lot of people played the game back in 2012, 2013, and they formed an
Because it was
opinion about
shit.
it. And that opinions
But there's a bunch of, like, Brodo's one of these people, like, all these weird people who are like, Guild Wars 2 is better than World of Warcraft. Like, no, it's not. Like, Guild Wars is shit. Like, go away with this.
basically immutable. They're still out there. They're still looking for MMO games to play. But they have, despite anything that game has done, and it's not perfect to be honest, but I think it struggles to convince people to be like, hey, we have iterated a lot. We are basically a different game than we were 5 years ago. Maybe it could be that this is just like a
Maybe because you shot your load and you blew your chance, man. Like, people are fucking fickle. Like, they go and play a game. Sometimes I'm like this. I go and play a newly released game, and if it's fucking dog shit, I'm like, hey, this game's dog shit, and I don't fucking go back and play it again. Like same thing with my opinion of Guild Wars is that it's fucking dog shit and inferior to World of Warcraft in every fucking way possible. And the only things Guild Wars could have done was to iterate on shit that WoW had already done and try to make it better. But that's, I don't want to fucking play it.
God, I can't think of the right word for it. Maybe this is something that we as a gaming community need to learn, and we will learn that, eventually you just check in on games every 5 years.
I will if I want to. How about that? If I want to play a game, I will. It's not up to me. It's not up to me to go back and consistently revisit titles and see if the fucking developer has figured it out yet. Okay? Like, let's do away with that shit. Sometimes in life, all you got is one fucking shot, and if you don't hit your fucking shot, that's it. You're fucked. So maybe do better next time, all right? If you're still sitting here iterating on stuff and making it better slowly over time, yeah, sure, people are going to come back. Look at PlanetSide. Some people come back and they fucking see the game. Like when I come back and play every 6 months and I see that nothing is really changed. It's the same piece of shit run by the same morons. And then I just leave. And for you to fucking say that we should learn as a community to go back and give the time of day to these fucking people, no.
Because there are a lot of these games as service games that keep going. The oldest example I could think of, the oldest, most popular example being World of Warcraft itself.
EverQuest?
Which has changed tremendously. It's changed so much that they put out the old thing that is nothing at all looking like the current game. And there's a big audience
because it was better.
For both. Yeah, I guess I'm just musing, but I really recognize the phenomenon you're describing of games as a service being something that people are really it's a growing pains time for the world of gaming, it feels like.
Especially, it's a growing pains time, especially if you're a fucking idiot and you have no ideas and you just copy paste shit all over the place and you don't know how to fix actual problems. Yeah, it's a growing pains time.
Yeah, no, I think so too. in regards to your question though, like how do you get those people to take a second look? Like it's kind of what the impetus behind escalation was.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, we know that we've had
Yep, and a lot of people took a second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth look, and then they left again. Check the populations, fellas. They left again. So I mean, how many more chances you got, man?
however many incredible amount of players played this game at some point, and they all left for some reason.
For some reason.
So we decided to target very heavily, outfit leaders and just like kind of the OG PlanetSide players who are kind of interested in just kind of the sort of the craziness that makes the game. And
which is actually really a niche population.
And really what it does for us is just it gives us a flagship, so to speak, to bring those players back, right? And then a lot of marketing is thrown behind it, and a lot of there's hype leading up to it, and that's all good, but you
fake hype
only get so many of those.
Yep, and you wasted this one.
And only so often. So we need to definitely see what like kind of optimize our efforts with bringing people back. Like whenever we do marketing, like we know that we'll always bring people into the game, but then like retaining them, it's a problem, as we've mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as the win backs for the players who've lapsed, yeah, I mean it's been a good almost 8 years now since the game launched. So who knows when we'll be able to get one of those again. So every update is about not only bringing people back, but keeping them.
He doesn't understand that. He thinks it's some. He thinks it's some like, in some way, if he appeals to more people that want to do courier missions, like that's gonna win back someone like me or you or something like that. Like,
and I think it's probably.
You're going the wrong way, bud. Like, the only reason I've come back and played is because you haven't significantly damaged the game enough to where it's completely unappealing to me. If you keep continuing to go down this route, then people like me are going to come back and be like, what the fuck is this? And you're going to push them further away. Like, you already have us at an arm's distance because you're stupid. Now you're going to push us off the fucking cliff if you keep going.
It's probably about the best you can do until you find those really like good pivotal moments to put something crazy into the world and kind of bring them back.
Yeah, and as far as that problem goes of attracting people back, I don't know. I don't know if PlanetSide could have done any better than how you guys did with Escalation.
DG's losing me, guys. I was on his train, but he's losing me now.
With that suite of things that you introduced all at once and all coming through, honestly, pretty cleanly.
In the scheme of things, yeah.
I mean, we've seen some really hairy stuff. You talked about the X11 compared to that.
Yeah.
How was this just the way it came through so cleanly? Was this just an indication of how experienced this team is?
No, don't do this.
I think no, in no small part. And then a lot of, honestly, like we have more QA resources, and we gave it the appropriate amount of time. Like we pushed it back, I think twice, at least. And the community was behind it. They're like, wow, you guys are doing something really cool right now. Just take the time, the time, fix it. And that's
and it still sucked.
Important. A lot of times you don't have the luxury of time, to work on an update like that. But we figured that, if it's not good, then we're just like, shoving more, crap in the world. So it's not going to do like what we want it to, right?
That is the perfect sentence, dude. That is the perfect fucking summation.
And that's important. A lot of times you don't have the luxury of time, to work on an update like that. But we figured that, if it's not good, then we're just like, shoving more, crap in the world. So it's not going to do like what we want it to, right? We have a specific goal that we want to hit with that update. So in order to do that, we have to.
Sounds like what's happening to the game to me. That's the perfect fucking sentence.
We have to take our time.
Yeah, and whenever an update,
and it's great because he literally comes from his mouth.
Like this, hits a game. There's a ton of things you have to navigate. deadlines you have to push against, pressure from
Mhm.
different stakeholders to have it come in a certain way at a certain time to line up with certain other things. It's complicated. I get that. Um,
Just shoving
one
stuff
aspect of the
into the
update
game.
still has me wondering though, and I don't know how much you can tell me about this, but like I look back at some of the other big updates in PlanetSide's history, and looking at this one, there's one enormous difference that I can see, and maybe I missed it, but I don't think any of this is monetized.
Yeah, yeah. No, so we figured that there's definitely a lot of talk about monetization. You have to have that discussion, and
Everybody pat him on the back for not monetizing a major feature of the game. Everybody golf clap. Good job, guys. Congratulations, you did it.
with every update, because you don't
Because literally every fucking thing else in the game is monetized. Like, come on,
want
man.
to you don't want to like leave money on the table.
Yeah.
Right, is that I really don't like that expression for some reason,
Well,
but
you got to support the game and give it a chance to grow where it can. If you're gonna make
yeah,
something great, absolutely.
Except the problem now is when you give money to this game and Wrel, he takes that money and he makes courier missions with it. That's what he's doing. He doesn't fix the shit that's already wrong. He we're gonna have courier missions.
So with our target though, we were planning to bring back enough old members to where like a lot of the stuff that we had done for the past however many years is going to be new to them, and so they'd have plenty to invest in and that sort of thing. There was a conversation about monetizing the war asset system, and that's where actually that overclock button is kind of plays in. So like you would like we were talking about there being like resource boosts that you'd get, and it just like it didn't make sense, and it also wouldn't feel good. Like it was kind of contrary to the gameplay that we wanted to create
Like Firestorm.
and everything else. Unfortunately, like we have a team that is rational.
What?
And we weren't under any crazy pressure, um, as had been in the past in various times, where we had to make a decision like that. So it was just better for us to not deal with it. Like we did merit boosts, right? So if
Yep.
people want to grade the stuff, but like the merit stuff it's not like super. I don't know. It's just like another portion of progression, and
Yeah, the merit thing where you could put infinite Spitfires down and everybody had Spitfires. That thing. We're gonna have no mention of that. I don't think.
Yeah, it's just a fast forward button, and it's not for even
Yeah.
arguably the most important parts. I mean,
right. Like
you
it's
can hit
all
the goals
personal.
without
The 3-month mistake.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And I also noticed that I think there were a few bundles that went back into the
Fuck
store.
yeah,
before the
dude,
MS version
bundles.
came out, which
Yeah, for sure.
totally makes
And that
sense.
stuff. Yeah, it makes sense to package that stuff whenever we can. Like I mean, you're bringing a bunch of people back, you want them to have something to buy, but then also for the current members who maybe haven't left the game, they enjoy buying.
Who's Rel talking to? This is DG. He's done a few interviews with some people in the community. I think he does a much better job than most of the other ones.
New stuff too. So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I bought in. Actually, I said this before, but
thank you.
yeah, absolutely. I like supporting the games that I like. Like I actually take pleasure in it, and I'm not.
What a brave man you are.
Not everyone's in the same position I am. I work at 9 to 5, and I play when I'm not. So I'm able to support a game. I'm able to drop money on a bundle. Not only does it enhance my enjoyment of the game because I'm it's literally more stuff, more goodies, faster progression.
He's all right. He's losing me slowly. 'Cause he's falling into that. I mean, I get he's got to kind of suck a little dick here and there, but
All that stuff is obvious on the surface, but to me, it just feels good to support the game. And
Yeah.
I'll even like stay
when am I getting interviewed, dude? Never.
subscribed at times when I'm not playing actively for that reason. It kind of makes me think of
I'm toxic, dude. You can't. Nobody wants to talk to me.
actually the model of something like Twitch, where the content is there for you, and
Yeah,
when you jump in and say,
dude.
I want to buy a subscription or I want to put money in, you're not doing it because necessarily because you're getting something back, but because you want to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting time that we live in, where like honestly, so long as you have quantity and then people who are interested in what you're doing, like the amount of money, like you're not trying to maximize profits, right? Like that's
Like, I buy bundles and shit, and I support a game monetarily when I believe in what they're doing. Like, I I still like I support Siege. I spend all kinds of money in fucking Siege, man, because I trust the developers over there when like they get a lot of shit wrong, but they are able to identify the problem and eventually get to the solution. That's why I support that game monetarily, whereas I do not support this game monetarily. Because if you support PlanetSide 2 monetarily, you are directly supporting the morphing of the game from being an FPS game to a fucking retard simulator for people who can't play FPS games. Like I'm not down with that, so I'm not going to give you my money.
It's kind of contrary to the point of running your channel or whatever else. It's like if you believe in what I'm doing, then feel free to donate, and hopefully you have a large enough and dedicated enough following to where that sustains you. And that's to me, it feels really clean. Regarding the Twitch stuff, I just don't like advertisements, so I pay for it.
Oh yeah, amen, brother.
And YouTube too.
Ads kill me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got into a place. I was in college in the early 2000s, and I basically stopped watching TV. I didn't have a TV for many, many years. This is before streaming services were a thing. But whenever I wanted to watch something, I just torrent it. Unashamed pirate. Not as much anymore because it's so easy to not pirate. But
imagine that, giving fucking options. Will make you not do
now
illegal
whenever I'm forced
shit.
to watch an ad, I always feel so violated. So
yeah, no, I feel like I have to take a shower after watching that. That's weird.
have you?
Why does he sound like he keeps speeding up? I have it on 1.25 because these people actually talk fucking slower at 1.0. People were complaining earlier. I put it on 1.5, and it's too fast because of the cadence in which Wrel talks. It's almost unintelligible. So 1.25 was the happy medium.
Have you been following this new story about EA introducing advertisements during the as a test?
Yeah, this is 1.25. It seems like normal speak,
really?
right?
No,
Can you believe that?
Sounds like a very EA thing to do.
Oh man, it's such a punchline. But yeah, apparently they ran some kind of a pilot program. I don't know all the details. Maybe someone in chat does. But basically, for a UFC game, they would run advertisements when people were playing their game to see if people tolerated it, and apparently they did.
We just I don't know.
So definitely not
It ain't me.
Like, I hate advertisements, but I also like playing the game. It's like it's hard to take a stand.
You guys want to hear what it sounds like at 1.0?
It doesn't feel like you're necessarily getting heard, either when you rebel against something that you don't like. So like loot boxes and microtransactions is a good example. It only got to like a point where we were able to talk about it because the Battlefield controversy, or Battlefield Star Wars Battlefront. Yeah, because that controversy, right? And they went,
that
controversy wouldn't have been a thing because this happens all the time. Like what EA did was not necessarily worse than what a lot of other people have done. But because they have this really recognizable IP, because they have this massive following, there are like enough voices to where like it can really kind of like tip the scales and start this this conversation.
Yeah. It's a really publicly bungled the response too.
Yeah, I mean that never helps. But
yeah,
but back to Ben Shapiro's
speed. If they're just running like a little test group or whatever, I don't know how small it could be, thousands of participants, so far as I know. But
I haven't been paying attention.
I can totally see.
You're talking about some scummy shit EA did.
Through it, and then management's like, well, they didn't
Pikachu
leave.
face.
So this must be a thing that's okay.
Yeah, it seems like the effects of those aren't immediate. Yeah, actually, Effect in the chat just brought up a really relevant anecdote. Back in the day, PlanetSide 1, in the sanctuaries for that game, there was a time where there were actually TV ads playing in the sanctuary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know there was at least a Fanta.
So was the point of this interview something happening? I don't think there was necessarily... I think this guy just wanted to interview Wrel because everybody else had a chance to interview him. So, I don't fucking know, man.
Right. I remember that.
Nothing really happening.
Yeah. I wonder what else there was. Maybe McDonald's? Yeah, I don't know.
Good times for the few of us who remember those days. Okay. Well, man, Wrel, we've been down a lot of ground here. There's more stuff on my list, but I think we probably go for 3 more hours.
Well, what you got left?
Okay. Well, I got another controversy.
Why am I interviewing Wrel?
Okay. So okay. Yeah.
He unblocks me on Twitter, dude.
So, the story is you're the lead game designer now of this amazing new studio, birthed from the old one, Rogue Planet Games,
It's the same thing.
and you've just released Escalation, a critically well received expansion
Bro, give me a fucking break.
that I think has succeeded in bringing back a lot of players. I've been watching Steam charts. I'm not sure how accurate it is, but I looked at some of the old trends, and I see things like construction and other things like that, where the player base is the same 2 months after that it was 2 months before.
Right.
I'm not seeing that now. It seems like we are seeing a semi-permanent increase in players. Is that accurate?
No, it's not accurate.
Yeah, definitely the better. I honestly don't know what the numbers are off the top of my head,
Mhm.
but
Of course you don't. Yes, you do, you fucking liar. Get out of here.
and a lot of people are kind of chalking some of that stuff up to COVID too. And honestly, it's
It's COVID, guys.
I think
Yeah.
it's
Everybody was stuck at fucking home for fucking 6 months. That's why our population's declining. Get the fuck out of
it
here.
certainly doesn't hurt us. But I I think that using COVID as a cop out is kind of
Cringy, lame, cheap, easy.
it's an excuse that kind of demeans the efforts of the update. But the I think that there's probably like enough in game and based on the targets that we were going for, where we brought back like enough of the right people who are more interested in sticking around for a longer
The right people. Not people like Soupy Butt.
period of time.
Mhm.
So, and then like also it's just we need to constantly be doing really interesting things moving forward. Personally, I measure success based on like motivation based on momentum. So
I measure success based on momentum. Because I guess when you're the lead game designer of PlanetSide 2, you have to measure success based on like some sort of nebulous, vague, intangible fucking thing. Because certainly you couldn't measure it on metrics or things that you can fucking measure. Momentum. What the fuck?
provided we can like maintain this momentum,
Momentum what? You're fucking... It's going down. The players are leaving.
then hopefully we'll get to a good spot where we can start to increase populations over time. That's my wild dream.
It seems to be a big through line for you.
It really is, yeah, because it's something. And yeah, I mean, not to go back, but like that's where a lot of the frustration came from. Like on the smaller team is just like I really wanted to fix the game, but just wasn't enough time or hands to do that.
Mhm.
So like maybe there's an opportunity now, but realistically, like when it comes down to it, like very rarely do games reverse course.
Mhm.
So but the only thing that we can do is kind of like keep on keeping on, because like we have something special here. Obviously there's a desire for it. We are like pioneering this genre, so there's a lot of exploring left to do. And like all these
It sucks that he just defines it as it's a different genre now. Like that's depressing. 'Cause really you're not. I mean, just take what the game is good at and go with that. You don't have to pioneer anything or reinvent the wheel or fucking like just God, it's so fucking. Does he count it as pioneering if no one else is making MMORPG? I guess, but he's
lessons will like undoubtedly be able to translate into future projects as well. So yeah, so I mean it's all good.
I mean he's very well schooled in the art of talking for 45 seconds straight and saying absolutely nothing. Like he'd be a great politician.
Yeah.
Exploring a brave new world of PlanetSide, MMO FPS.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that is obvious to me is how successful you guys have been. I say you guys, I mean your RPG, in keeping people looking to the next update.
People are always eagerly anticipating the next update because they're desperate for things to get fixed that have been broken over time. Not because they necessarily want new content, is they want updates to fix shit that is broken in the game that doesn't get fixed.
We're letting people kind of get into a cycle where a big push was made to get something into the game, and then it's just like balance updates for months, right?
Yeah, I feel like we're pretty good about doing that on the old team too. Like bouncing between holidays and just like kind of what was going on. So I feel like honestly, I feel like it kind of remains to be seen. I don't want to like shoot myself in the foot. But yeah, like because the tactical loadout update that we did, honestly, it was just it's kind of like an interim thing, and I think that's probably way less polished than it probably should have been. But
like every single update ever released.
And then this campaigns update, which is like kind of the big one that we're moving into, is it's taking a little bit longer than anticipated, and just we had to put out a summer thing. I say had to, but like the community wanted it, so
people love events.
So it made sense to do it. So got that going kind of just like as an interim update as well. But realistically, like we had kind of wanted our missions and campaigns update to be out already.
You autistic nerds, relax, please.
I think that was the original plan, but we're still working with it, and there's still honestly a lot of work left to do. So hopefully it's big enough to warrant kind of the I don't know, the follow through. Well, I guess we did the Colossus update too.
Yeah.
But meh.
Big tank.
Whatever.
New toy.
Yeah, no, and that was just another interim thing. I think we'll be hitting like these different kind of scale updates. It doesn't make sense for us to do like an escalation size thing, repeatedly, or like even ever, maybe. Who knows?
I don't have enough ideas for that, dude.
But certainly, like, we want to vary the scale of these updates and kind of like be working on something bigger while we push out these little bite-sized updates to kind of keep people satiated.
How often would you like to bring new things into the game?
I think once a month.
Okay.
That would be my preferred cadence, but it also has to be done with. So you almost want two different teams to work on it, and for that we certainly don't have enough hands. Like even still, like you have a team that is working on the live game and is focused on that end of things, and then you have a team who's kind of like working in the background on some of the longer pull projects. That'd be the ideal. Totally can't work out that way. Just given the team size, but
Yeah, I've seen other live services games where they like rotate multiple teams, and they have things come out. Like I think Guild Wars 2 for a while had 3 different teams working on what they were calling their living world model, where they would put out a new major story release with new dungeons and stuff every 2 or 3 months, and that would be the
dude. When are we getting dungeons?
Team, because they had 3 teams going, they could release these things.
I want to raid in PlanetSide 2.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. Something along those
Maybe
lines.
Wrel can make that a reality for me.
I know, right?
Right? I mean, if PlanetSide got to a spot where you were introducing, say, Colossus-sized updates once a month, I don't mean colossal updates. I mean like iterating on the sandbox to that level.
Yeah.
Be very cool.
Need healers for Crown.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm really interested in that I think I see happening, and we kind of allude.
I'm gonna ban that acronym in this chat. SGC. I'm gonna ban that in this chat.
To this a little bit back is the gameplay loop. 2 things you mentioned to me. That one is the idea of having Sanctuary be kind of a pacing mechanism in a gameplay loop, which I really like. The idea of having a town with town services, very MMO thing that works, staple. And you also mentioned the idea of events happening that were tied to the mission system. You mentioned a drill or some kind of a drill event or something like that. When Commander Sirius and I were talking a couple weeks back, one of the things we just kind of dreamed about was what it would be like to have Sanctuary be a really effective social hub. And like maybe you even go to Sanctuary to pick up your missions. You go out with your platoon, your group, your squad, whatever. You go get something done.
Dude.
It's easy, it's hard, whatever. And then you come back. And maybe that's not exactly what it looks like.
And then you come back. Get this, guys. Get this. Listen to this fucking gameplay loop. You fucking go to Sanctuary, you log in. You pick up your fucking missions. You get your group together. You go out. And then you come back. Holy shit.
It looks like, but having like this kind of place where you like an inn where you come back to and you just talk, or you can socialize a little bit. And that might not attract everyone who plays PlanetSide, but it might pull at the strings of people who might otherwise not want to stick around. Is that the kind of thing that you would hope to have more of in the future, or am I just off in La La Land?
No, for that that specific example there. So we have we'll reveal more about this later. And I can't remember to the extent of which we talked about it on the last stream, but so like a campaign is going to have different chapters, and these chapter missions are it's a very like you go out, you do a thing, and then you come back, and then back to Sanctuary, and then it progresses like the story and whatever else.
Story, yeah, baby.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love Araxis lore.
So if just to tamper expectations here, like if we don't hit it the first time around, like things will get better over time.
Okay. Okay.
I think campaigns in general are a good excuse for us to like shake up the environment, and definitely do the storytelling. Obviously, kind of infuse more lore into the game.
Shake
But
up the environment. That excites some people.
yeah, those
Hmm.
words are very specific. But the yeah, so but at the same time, the missions are going to be more like free form. Like you go to the UI, you just pick all the missions, and then you go and you participate in them. Kind of similar to directives in a way. And I think
It sounds exactly like directives. What's the difference, Rel? Give me an example of a mission.
creating the balance there between like we don't necessarily want to force people to go to Sanctuary because they haven't really been accustomed to that playstyle, for the past 8 years.
Because we're playing an FPS game and there doesn't need to be a social hub in that. There never is going to be a need to be one.
And because of the pace of the game, it's a little bit contrary to what we want that flow to be. But at the
Almost
same time,
continent queuing, too. Yeah.
yeah. Yes, it's a really good point.
Bro, you see this degenerate? Look, you see that person? This person is wanted in 7 systems for raping those fucking horse things in The Last Jedi. Look at this degenerate. That's Sanmi, if you guys can't tell. Look at this.
And for
Fuck that
for
guy.
campaigns in particular, though, it's more finite, the things that you're doing. So to us, it makes sense to bring you back and kind of do that storytelling in the social space for it. So definitely a balance, I think, with everything, as we kind of explore the boundaries here.
Word. Okay. How important is it for you to bring people to
He
Sanctuary?
probably heard me talking about him. He's gonna come in.
I think it should always be optional, or I shouldn't say always be optional, because we obviously want you to do some things there. But I think in kind of a drop-in casual shooter experience, I don't think it should be necessary. I do think that it should be an experience that you want to participate in, but at the same time, may not appeal to everybody. So just trying to keep those.
We need to appeal to the marginalized gamers by implementing systems that put a spotlight on their marginalized talents.
Those 2 spheres in mind.
God, this is so
important.
cringe.
But we definitely want it to be part of the cycle as far as like what you, like again the starting of Sanctuary, the ending of Sanctuary. I think that those are good like entry and exit points too. Like you're not dropping in the middle of a warp gate. There's an alert going on. You're like you also have to like feel
it's still
like you should
sped
be
up,
doing
yes.
something, or at the opposite end of the spectrum, like taking away from like a slot where if you're just like screwing around, somebody else could could be there for
piling in the warp gate when the continent's full.
Right. Yeah. So like stuff like that. Yeah, we'll have to see. Like there definitely needs to be more to Sanctuary. Even after this next update, I think that there still needs to be more to Sanctuary. I have a personal goal that nobody knows about yet. I totally want a dating simulator for February next year. Totally will not happen.
For the Valentine's
event? It might. Who knows?
Yes, a dating simulator.
Yeah. It's like for Valentine's Day. But we just make it a permanent thing. Maybe I don't know.
And my mind is going wild with possibilities.
Could be more like you play Hades at all?
I'm familiar with it.
Okay, super great game. If you even remotely enjoy roguelites or roguelikes, yeah, definitely give it a shot. Perfect storytelling and the gameplay, outstanding. Super giant games, all this stuff is good.
Yeah.
But you basically the progression in that game revolves around having interactions with different people, and you're like giving them gifts, and it's like progressing. Like they're for some people it's like a love interest thing, and for some people it's
what the fuck does any of this have to do with PlanetSide 2? Do you guys get me now when I say that this person should not be in charge of designing for this game? Like, do you guys see where I'm coming from?
It's more like a respect thing, and you're creating like bonds with people. So like as an easy way, like you could go that direction, or you can make it an idle click simulator. For anybody who plays Crush. Yeah, if you don't know what that is, neither do I.
I like the idea of gifts. I think that's got potential.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's even a currency of some kind, like a hearts currency, and you can just choose who to bring your hearts back to at the end of a continent alert.
Could bring back some of that Spitty Bay fanfic. Yeah, kind of give that some canonical lore. Yeah.
I think that's got legs, man.
I think so too. Yeah.
Unlike you.
I think so. I mean, and look, I was gonna before you brought that amazing anecdote up, the idea up, I was gonna say that like, I really hear what you're saying about not screwing too much with the drop-in kill some stuff, drop out thing with PlanetSide. But speaking personally, I'm not sure how many people I speak for, I like a little bit of friction.
I bet you do, boy.
Mind waiting to get into the thing if the thing itself is bigger. And I'm
What are we talking about here?
and again, it's that MMO kind of interest that maybe not everyone in PlanetSide is into, and respect that. But
Yeah.
I love the idea of more stuff being in Sanctuary. I wouldn't even mind if there was more stuff that was gated by Sanctuary. Like, what if you couldn't interact with directives unless you were in Sanctuary?
What the fuck? What is wrong with you?
And it'll be a pain in the ass, but it's kind of an out there idea, like example of, it wouldn't bother me at all if I had to go to an NPC or a console in Sanctuary to interact with the mission system. And maybe you only work on one mission at a time when you're on a continent. I don't know. That probably has chasing potential. Point is, you're the developer. I tell you what
Good example, man.
I like, and you figure out how to do it, right? But I'm just saying, like, I think Sanctuary is something that can be built out in a way that creates a part of PlanetSide.
You know, maybe he has a food channel. Am I like off base by thinking that? Like if all I have to go on is this interview, maybe he's like one of those guys that eats fast food in his fucking car. I don't know. It would seem that way to me.
That to me has never really been as real as I wanted it to be.
What do I have to go on?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And definitely like that, those conversations come up, like especially when, like, should you buy all your weapons at a vendor? You know, it would certainly declutter the UI, which we have a constant, present concern about.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like people tend to buy their weapons from the UI, not from the depot. Just because like the convenience is there, and for people who are
Yeah, I would love to take time out of my day to go to a vendor to buy a weapon. Like that's the shit that you have to do in World of Warcraft when you're like leveling a fucking character and shit. Like, why the fuck would I ever want to do that in this game?
or like who already are knowledgeable of the game, like it's not an overwhelming amount of information, but there's potentially benefits. Like if we did, move it off somewhere.
And why the fuck are you playing this game if that's what you want to do?
Somewhere else, where people, like, for example, like maybe new players aren't, like, they don't have to worry about focusing on spending their certs on a weapon. Like if it's kind of not gated necessarily, but if there is more friction, there's a lot of considerations like that where I think we just need to be smart about like which routes we decide to go down, and then also be content to like take it a step back if it seems like it's not within the best interest of the game as a whole. Yeah, but this is like moving more toward like an MMO direction is the direction that we're going right now. So
no, that's not. No, you're wrong.
So there's a lot of potential for change, to that end.
It's already an MMO. You are trying to turn it into an MMO RPG, which is different.
I like the sound of that. And hearing you talk about
who is DG supposed to be again?
Testing ideas with the game.
I don't know.
Turning off the tutorial during
I don't really know. I just know he does some
it
interviews.
Seems clear that there would be
with these dudes.
Opportunity
like he did an interview with Sirius, I think, a couple weeks ago. That's the first one I had seen of him, and I appreciate his interview style a lot more than some other people.
To test out some of these ideas of, will people go to Sanctuary for this thing if they kind of have to, or will they just ignore it altogether, and you can pick and choose where to apply the friction, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Cool. Okay. Well, I probably am about
Don't do that, Flick.
done with fanboying out over Sanctuary. Send your fanfics.
Unfollow me right now.
Your Vanu fanfics straight to me. You can contact one of my Twitch mods if you don't know how to get a hold of me. And yeah, I love that stuff. But let's maybe lift it back a little bit. PlanetSide's a big game. Lots of things to talk about.
Why are interviews with Wrel 3 hours long? Because he has a lot to say, man. And it's funny that you can go through a 3-hour interview and he basically says nothing.
Let's lift it back a little bit, though. I feel like we're mostly
a gifted sub to Soupy Butt.
Caught up with the story of Wrel.
Thank you, sir.
You're here in the lead game designer's shoes. I guess if there's anything else to go to explore, and you can suggest something, of course, but it would be what's next. We talked a bit about which way the
a new
is going,
job,
but
hopefully.
Do you want to talk at all about where you
I got
see
a
your
clean
career
cut?
going or what your ambitions are? You did
Dude,
talk
I
about
always
how you
look
wanted
like
to
this.
actually, make a game at some point.
I don't have a bunch of gray in my hair either, like you old fuck.
I don't really want to.
It's
talk about myself forever,
actually only
but,
like
but yeah, I
here,
mean,
Your name's on the
making games.
interview, so you can get away with
but
it.
you can't really see it.
Yeah. I think one of my goals, my dream, my real only dream, honestly, is to make a game. So, whether that is a
Everybody get with me here. I want Rel to achieve his dream, like sooner rather than later. As soon as he can do this, make this dream, just go make another game, please.
Whether it's PlanetSide 3, which I think every designer on the team has a design document for PlanetSide 3.
I think you're right.
So it's just like a thing that's like, of course you want to work on a new game. Like, who wouldn't want to work on a new game?
One of the questions I've written down here is, what's the first word that comes to your mind when I say PlanetSide 3?
Meh.
Oh.
See, and the thing is that, and there's so to kind of bring that around. The thing is that there's a lot that we could do. And I certainly have design documents for PlanetSide 3, and all the other designers have their visions of what a PlanetSide 3 could mean. I think that if we were to do, like, I feel like it could even be a new IP. Like, that's kind of the direction that I would like to see. But at the same time, you risk ticking off the PlanetSide 2 community that like would want a PlanetSide 3, right?
Who cares? The lore in this game sucks dick.
Right. And I certainly want a PlanetSide 3. I would like to erase all the mistakes of the past and kind of like start fresh. Obviously.
You don't know how to do that.
But I feel like it would be really cool to work on something that wasn't that too.
Is that like just a creative interest thing? I mean, I think it's important, people who are creative.
He wants to go and copy some other fucking game and just do it all that way.
To work on different things and to iterate over time. You look at like I know, like when I was younger, I had my favorite bands, right? And they put out an album that I loved, and I'd always get frustrated when they put out another album. They're like, oh well, we're changing creatively, and they didn't just make another version of the thing that I really loved. That always annoyed me. Over the years, I eventually realized, oh well, that's what people do, creators especially. Is that kind of the instinct that you're describing?
I mean, it's I don't want to even call it an instinct. Like, I have like journals of game ideas and everything, and like I could choose one from a hat and say like oh, this would be fun to make. But at the same time, like PlanetSide 3 is fine. Like, it's established IP. Like, I have no qualms to make it. And in fact, I certainly would love to make PlanetSide 3.
It can't happen. Sorry, man.
Push my game design documents in front of many a studio goer. But what I would really like to see is something to, like, kind of in the same sphere, but would be more extreme, especially when it comes to the asymmetry. I would really love, not that I'm pitching myself at BioWare, but I would really love to make like a PlanetSide 3 or PlanetSide 2 style game, but like in the Mass Effect universe. I think that'd be like.
He can't get away from it. I make Mass Effect jokes, like, unironically in Soupy's chat when playing this shit, and I mean, this is why.
It's so interesting. Or even like a universe of StarCraft. They might be working on it now. I hope they are. But like that's
StarCraft being 3 factions, tons of asymmetry. It's like there's an obvious connection there.
Okay.
It excites me so much that even like something like that could even exist. And that's what gets me going. Is just like what can you do this like really like that defies expectations, that is this ambitious and grand and awesome. Because like the formulaic nonsense, I mean, I'm sure Assassin's Creed game.
Can we just have like a World War II version of PlanetSide 2 that's the US versus the Nazis? Can we just have that? Like, that would be a cool game.
Games are good, but
just take Battlefield 3 / Battlefield 4 mechanics and just dump it into that engine and do it like that.
Yeah, I don't want to make another one of those.
Can't have Nazis in 2020? What? Why do you guys assume I would be a Nazi?
I'm sure the people working on Assassin's Creed want to make another one of them.
I'm sure. Yeah.
There's this fucking Nata still really flying around in here, dude.
Being able to let my mind run and do just like really creative stuff. So like it could be anything. Like,
because you're a fucking white male.
I only say meh to PlanetSide 3 because there's a lot of potential for anything. Like, the sky's the limit, especially
Why
like
stop
we
at
have
PlanetSide
technology
3?
that Right. Yeah. Like we have technology that people aren't replicating right now, right? Like we have a game that is able to support this stuff, and like Fortnite is getting up there, but it's not
True.
insane. Call of
That's
Duty is
true.
getting up there, but it's not insane.
Mm-hmm.
And we just have this amazing, as much as people complain about the engine, like we're still doing something that
What
nobody
it
else
does
is
is
doing,
insane.
right?
It is
Yeah.
so far above what any other game is trying to do.
Yeah.
The fact that, I mean, one of these things to complain about in PlanetSide is client-side interactions. And there are some games that make them cleaner, but those are games that have 12 people in a game.
Yeah.
The fact that you can increase the number of people 100-fold and only lose as much fidelity is actually being lost is a technological feat. And you need to have a little bit of, I think, nuance to understand that, but it's extremely important to keep in perspective when thinking about what PlanetSide 2 has achieved, I think.
Yeah.
And your comment about other things that are out there, other things to explore, games to try to make. What games are out there right now that are kind of inspiring you, or what are you playing?
Let's see. Jesus, what am I playing? I started playing StarCraft 2 again. I'm
Very relevant game, by the way, in 2020.
awful at it, as I've always been awful at RTS games. but I'm trying to learn a new skill set, and learning to micro is one. Let's see. Was waiting on a big Hades update to come out. Played that. Deep Rock Galactic.
Deep Rock.
Is
Raise a mug to
just,
that.
Yeah, right.
I bet is this man drinking like Bob Evans gravy out of that cup?
It's an amazing game. Those guys are killing it. PlanetSide 2, obviously.
So
got
about
back
those.
into go ahead.
No, please.
I got back into Destiny 2, and a lot of that was.
Yeah, we can tell. That's why you're trying to shove a fucking social hub into PlanetSide 2. Hey guys, I've been playing Destiny over the weekend. I got some great ideas.
Like they're doing stuff, and I think that any game that I play is like it's not mind numbing to me. Like it's not just like you sit down and you do it. It's like I always take away like the lessons, and that's kind of the way that I've always been. And so the things that engage me are usually the ones that have some deeper interest for me as a designer.
Mm-hmm. So like a game like, let's say, Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Are you playing any relevant fucking games?
What kind of deeper interest? I mean, you talked previously about the update cadence and the perils of maintaining live services in that game. Is that how you approach Destiny, or are there other things there that grab you?
No, and those are two. Those are some things that stand out. But the kind of the way that I would see Destiny's core loop is kind of similar to what we're going for.
Has Wrel ever been pressured in an interview before? Is that a serious question?
Right? I mean, like you have the tower, and you go back.
Dude,
there
WoW
and you get
Classic is
missions,
mega relevant right now. The gates are getting
and
open,
then you
dude.
go into the game and complete the stuff.
Even Soupy Butt logged in last night, or somebody hacked his account. But I saw you. I was online.
And then you come back, and that's I think the role that Sanctuary fills, and like getting that to feel good is important. Like there's stuff with just like the spacing of their NPCs and like just the clever stuff that they're doing, where they're like hiding people in certain places so you don't have to load everything. I mean, that's just like game centrics. But yeah, just like a lot of little stuff that I pick up on. But I think that if you were looking at a
okay,
like
dude.
a PlanetSide 3, for example, I think that one of the games that you'd probably draw the most parallels to is a game like Destiny 2. I mean, different, completely different visuals, obviously, and like it wouldn't be like super instance and that sort of thing. You'd still want to retain that sort
PvE, which is untrod ground for PlanetSide.
Yeah, I mean, PvE is it's kind of something that I think you'd want in even like in PlanetSide 2 in small doses, mostly for like tutorials and that sort of thing, and just like little side missions and stuff for storytelling. But even for a PlanetSide 3, I think it'd be probably primarily PvP centric.
Wow, bold move.
So I think what's interesting about a game like this is that if you had PvE, people would probably only play the PvE. That's at least my opinion on it. It's a same thing with like instance combat. Like if you were to add smaller scale instances where people can kind of like go off and do their stuff in a more controlled space, I bet you anything that people would gravitate towards that to the point where it kills the sandbox and then kind of marginalizes what PlanetSide 2 was really about in the first.
But do you know this is the key here. Do you know why they would pick to do that instead? Not the fact that they do it. You need to understand why they do it. Like, lead game designer. Do you understand why they would choose to go and play? Like, all the people that I know that won't play on live, but they play on Jaeger all the time. Why the fuck do they do that? God, I just can't figure it out. If I gave the option to have instant fucking combat in PlanetSide 2, why would they choose to do that?
This place, and so this is more like the protecting players from themselves sort of thing, because quite
He doesn't know. The spoiler alert, he's fucking stupid and he doesn't understand that.
frankly, like a more session-based, PlanetSide 2 with more balanced elements, sort of like a Battlefield, match-based game. Like honestly, it'd probably be more fun.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. I don't want to say more fun's probably not the right thing, but
no, it was.
I think it'd be more fun to more players.
Be more accessible.
Certainly. Yeah. Well, yeah. As far as like a learning curve, I guess.
The learning curve in this game is not that high.
Yeah, and then you could have things like matchmaking.
Yep, and things like
no
restricted vehicle use and that sort of thing. Like
you still wouldn't have matchmaking. That's not how it works.
It's not like you're fighting in your own little sphere on one side of the map, and then hey, maybe a platoon of people drop on the side of the map or whatever.
And then you're fighting
kind of like
a 70-30 battle. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that to me, that idea of an instance fight at a base is like, that is the theme park PlanetSide.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the feeling of being able to go anywhere kind of contributes to the.
But like in a vacuum, like can you really? Like when I play the game, I don't ever like when I zone into a base or whatever. I'm not at the fight thinking, man, I could go anywhere after this. Like I'm not thinking about that at all. Like that's not something that enters into my mind. Like I guess because of the way the spawning mechanics work, it never really fucking matters that it's like some open world shit. Like I could drive a fucking vehicle over there, but I want to go to this other fight over here. Like it might as well be the way that a lot of people like me play the game. Like it might as well be, I'm leaving the Jaeger's 5th server and I'm joining the fucking Matherson's Triumph server. Like that's exactly how the game plays out for a lot of us. Like, and you lose the mass fucking scale or whatever, the open worldness of it, because it really does feel like you're just fucking going from instance to instance. So to me, the game wouldn't feel any different if it was like that, because that's just how it feels to me now.
I mean, that's what creates the sandbox, right?
Yeah,
is just being able to go anywhere. And
so like the sandbox aspect of the game I've never really given a fuck about it, because it doesn't factor into anything.
Even in those small like
the sandbox for me is just vehicle players out in the sand
and then it naturally,
playing with turds in the sand,
and
like
kind of like moves on to the next point. And I think that the organic nature of the sort of point to point combat is another standout feature of the game that I think would be hard to replicate. In more like instance based stuff.
In a more small scale.
Yeah.
Okay. So Destiny. What about these other couple of games you mentioned?
I don't know. Operations in like especially Battlefield 1 kind of did that. Like you progressed, so it was like you were kind of going from base to base. I would have liked to see more of that.
How are they? What kind of lessons are you learning from, say, like Deep Rock?
Deep Rock.
Yeah. I want to talk about Deep Rock. I love that game.
No, it's I think that even though it's a 4-player co-op game, they nail like what roles mean, like more so than any game that I've seen, and they do it in a way that's really interesting because of all the environment manipulation, and it's like it's dark. You need somebody with flares. Everybody has their limited usage, but everybody can also mine too. But like the driller is able to move through, like great shortcuts that are just like way more efficient, and everything else. And at the same time, like each class feels good to play. Like it's not just maybe like in Team Fortress, I guess, like the medic who has to be glued to a heavy.
Right.
At least you can tell me if I'm wrong. I'm just kind of totally making that assumption.
Of course you are.
Anyway, for TF2,
imagine not having played fucking Team Fortress, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it is more passive role. Or think about like a healer.
And you're a fucking lead game designer on an FPS game, and you've never played Team Fortress,
Overwatch, or something like that.
Yeah.
There really aren't any passive roles in Deep Rock.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's one of those things where like even if you like a certain class, like you're content to play other classes because they can all kill stuff and they all have like a really unique interesting gameplay elements.
Mhm.
And then there's the progression. Like I haven't even gotten to the overclocks yet.
Okay.
Um,
There's some fun there.
yeah, and it's just like they add a bunch of stuff, but it's done in such a way where it's like you choose what you're working on, right, and then you do the missions and then you get the thing. And I think that progression is really interesting from a design
Can
perspective because
anybody interview him? Yes,
they're not
dude.
just like saying like, okay,
Except
you get to
me.
do everything, right? Like it's gated behind certain prestige
He would
requirements
never.
and that
He
sort of
would
thing
never
for
let
like
me
the
interview
deep
him.
dives and that sort of thing.
The interview would be.
I'm
It would
saying
be
that sort of
over.
thing a whole lot,
in,
but
like 5 minutes.
there's a lot of interesting mechanics that they take advantage of, uh, that is kind of just like interlaced throughout the game as a whole. Even
Mhm.
the small like social stuff where it's just like if you're buying
Yes.
a mug of beer, like it buys it for all of your team, which is like that little
Mhm.
little tidbit is cool because like of course somebody's gonna go up and drink their beer and everything else, and maybe you dance because it exists, or kick
I
a
love the dancing.
thing into the
The
barrel or
music
throw it
too.
into the
It's
fire.
it surprisingly slaps.
They they got a lot going on, and it's like very small confined space. And like when you look at sanctuary, just like social spaces in general, you have to look at those sorts of things and say like okay, how do you make these
Do you guys see now? Like, he just sees this stuff in other games, and he wants it in his game. Like, there's no real reason why.
interactions feel natural?
Like that.
How
Mhm.
yeah
Did he address any of the issues with PS2? What do you think?
yeah. There's just a whole lot of good going on.
Mhm. Yeah. So for those out of the loop, Deep Rock Galactic is a 4-player co-op um, shooter where you play as a dwarf, and your job is to mine minerals for an oppressive corporation. Your home base is a space rig. It's a space station in space, and it is um, half alienating and half completely charming. Before you go on a mission, you take your mission consumable, which is a beer.
What the
that has a
fuck are
funny
we
effect on
talking?
you.
Shut
You
up!
new? I might be wrong, but next to the beers, if you haven't tried it, man, you're missing out.
Yeah, I'll have to try it.
um, and of course, the progression. Although Deep Rock, not even despite the fact that it's overclocked. And did you see that?
No, and I've only seen the aftermath, so and because of that I don't want to talk much about it. And like I don't know, like maybe there's some context there that people are missing or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's
yeah.
just Joe Rogan, but
Well, so I
like
don't know.
it could, yeah.
I can tell you don't want to talk about it. I'll try to put you out of your misery real quick. Um, so Joe Rogan used to play a lot of Quake 3 back in the day. He liked it so much, and he had enough money that
Oh
he
no, dude, we're
back
gonna get
before
into
broadband
the
was
Joe
common, he,
Rogan
like, he one mined his
comments.
house.
Hmm.
And he played so much that he didn't get things done in his life, and he had to break himself off the habit. Years later, Quake Champions comes out, which is an homage and update to Quake 3.
Shit game.
And now that he has a warehouse to do whatever he wants in, he builds a LAN center for him and his friends, and they play Quake Champions, and then he can't get his stuff done, and he has to put it away, get rid of it. And so he's formed his opinion about video games based around that experience, more or less. And the idea that there are a handful of ninjas out there who are successful, and everyone else is Joe Rogan, who can't break a habit.
Yeah, no, it's totally like that sort of stuff is. Yeah, I just like okay, I had this very personal experience to me, but I can't possibly like I don't know, open my mind to like other possibilities that might take place. So I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
just project that on everybody because everybody is a lazy gamer. It's really I think games in general certainly have a risk of being addictive. It's like growing up, I played a lot of video games. Growing
No.
up, I was a very poor student, knowingly so. Like I deliberately skipped out on homework and passed the tests just so that I can kind of skate by in high school. And it wasn't like
We can. It shows.
wasn't a mystery to me, but I just really wanted to play video games. So I think it's it's about decision making. It's parenting, environment, and to that extent, it can be a really good thing. If you have a really crappy upbringing, like video games are an escape. If you just like have social anxiety, like video games are a way to connect with people. Like there's a lot of stuff that's out there that is totally not outside the realms of possibility for anybody who's like remotely even trying to put in the thought.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly don't know much about Joe Rogan outside of.
I
his
think it's
podcast
getting towards
episodes.
the end,
I
and
certainly
he's
don't
just
listen to it.
bringing up like various.
So like this could just be like
you
a
know,
normal thing
whatever
for him,
Joe
and I
Rogan
absolutely don't.
commenting
I just
on
think it's an
games
interesting
topic.
dynamic because,
Fucking, I think there was some
I
Bungie
think that
shit. Like,
video games are like will be the predominant art form
Yeah.
everywhere. The more and
you
more
will
so.
be, actually, you mentioned this on Sirius' podcast, or like Sirius' podcast when you had him on. Like,
Oh, I have to
think,
watch the serious fucking
choosing between the
interview,
hockey game
dude.
or like whatever else is on Twitch.
Am I uploading the
Mhm.
VOD of this to YouTube? I don't
Yeah,
think
it'll just
YouTube's
be
gonna
another form
appreciate
of
a
entertainment. I think if
fucking
anything, it's
4-hour VOD,
like
dude.
it's certainly more interactive. So like there's benefits there than just like
compared to
sliding
watching a
away
movie,
from
right?
the TV. Yeah. It's like drilling from.
So I'm gonna have all those dipshit Andys
It's like
in my
I don't know.
fucking comments, like,
have my own
this
growing
guy
story
really
too, right?
uploaded
and my
a
parents have to
4-hour
understand my interest in games. I didn't
Planet 2
understand it.
video. Ha!
But we're exploring it, and actually
I don't care, dude.
what ended up happening for me at the start of this year was I got tired of not getting out of games what I put into them, and I said, well, how can I fix that problem? Oh, why don't I make a podcast?
If I actually really
And
cared,
it's injected every single
I
moment
would
I play a video
download
game
the
that's gonna
VOD
be
of this
because it all feeds back.
I
into
would
something that I'm
edit it
creating into connections that are being made
and pick out the
conversations that, in my mind,
fucking diamonds
might
of
not
the
happen
shit,
if
alright?
I wasn't doing what I was doing.
But I am so fucking lazy
so
that it would take me a month
I
to
also
do
have a lot of
that.
friends, people I play with, who just play games to blow off steam at the end of the day.
So, like, if I was gonna do
The same way you might
anything,
hop on an episode of The Office.
I would
or
highlight it,
something, and I respect that too.
or just
sure,
big
games
dick
have
jam it on the
A
YouTube.
unique
you
ability
know?
to draw people in and distract them from things that might benefit them more to focus on in their own life. But blaming a video game is kind of like
Yeah, like I would have to fucking go
It's like
in and
blaming the
edit
gun.
it down or give timestamps for shit. That I could
And,
do, but I'm lazy.
there are certain things we can work on, like how much RNG do we want? How much do we want to? How do we want to interact with people's wallets? What do we want? What do we want?
Like, but the
our target
fact
audience to be demographic.
it's always funny to me is the fact that I could just sit here and watch like some shitty ass interview with Wrel and I have like 50 viewers for fucking 4 hours straight, which is probably, I guarantee it's the top of fucking PlanetSide. Or if not the very top, it's fucking like one of them. Hold on, let's see, 155 viewers. Yeah, I mean, I'm at the top. There's people playing the actual fucking game, and most people are watching me sit here do nothing but talk about the fucking interview. Like, it's funny. It's just funny to me.
Graphic wise, and if they're young, how do we want to accept that the trust that the parent is putting in this experience?
Lots of moral or ethical decisions
Right.
that go into games.
But I think no matter what happens, we are at the games will never be a smaller deal than they are today.
What's up, Halsoy?
And the Joe Rogan
Games will never be a smaller deal than they are today. I mean, I could very easily see a scenario where games are not a big deal anymore. Like,
of the world, it would credit them to learn a little bit about it. And I'm not necessarily pinning him down, but
like take
he's
any
kind of the
like
flashpoint
world
for what I think is an
disaster or
interesting
a
discussion.
fucking nuclear holocaust or something like that.
I think
I mean, that's-
even perhaps
I
more
feel like that's
interesting,
pretty obvious.
and this goes into really fantasy land, is talking about how
Nobody
the
gives a
means that
shit
we
anymore
interact
after
with
that.
with our devices controls the games that can get made. Like we're just at the start of VR technology, and people were trying to take games that already existed and make them
Bro,
more than
nobody
VR.
gives a
We're starting to see
fuck
games
about
that-
VR. Shut up. Nobody cares.
They work
The
as a
only
team
people who
and-
care about VR is fucking
Could you give us a
perverts who
Wrel
want to
style
look at VR tits and fuck someone in VR. Like, VR is dog shit. I think that's the entire interview. I wanted to see what he said at the end because we stopped talking about
Jason
PlanetSide
Side
for
chats.
like
We have a
ever.
Discord community where we play games every day, including Deep Rock Galactic and PlanetSide. So feel free to drop by. And yeah, good game to all.
I don't care about VR, dude.
Thanks, Wrel. You rock.
All right, that was the interview. Here's fucking DG's thing. I don't know if he has a YouTube or not. That's the link to his channel. This is the link to the actual VOD. I don't know if he has a YouTube or not. He might. By the way, the new Twitch UI is... I fucking hate it. It's dog shit. Here you go. See, this is the stuff I want to do. I want to do this bullshit. He did a long form interview. Let's see who else he's done. Did with some, I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. Some other shit. But he did Sirius and Wrel. So that's a serious one. Outfit, what the fuck? Who's this with?
Good evening and welcome to Basement Side. I'm your host.
Sale, this fucking Sale and Therum are in this fucking. Look at these degenerates. You know, this is Therum, right? He'll never show his face. Sale is a fucking sociopath, man. Like, Jesus Christ, get me off of this. Fuck that. Get me out of there, dude. Alright, that's it for me. I'm out. I don't know what I'm gonna do later. Not doing the other serious video today, but for the fucking subs and the follows, appreciate you guys. I'll come back and play PlanetSide. I've been saying this for a couple months now. I'll come back and play PlanetSide when Wrel is no longer on the team. So until Wrel is gone, I will not be making a return. So yeah. Alright, have a good night, dudes.